Chapter 1282. This guy definitely doesn't care about me, his fiancée. He actually dared to do such a dirty thing in front of me. Damn bastard. He doesn't know how to behave himself. Riaz clenched her teeth in anger. Dustless was humiliating her in front of her face. His fiancée was right here, and as her fiancée, Dustless was about to perform an erotic scene in front of everyone. Riaz only felt that she had lost all face. "Master, are you feeling unwell?" Libel half knelt on the ground with a charming smile on her pretty face. Her youthful body was emitting a mature charm, and her entire body was emitting a sexy aura. Looking into Libel's eyes, Dustless had a crazy thought of taking her for himself. Some people would act pitiful and pitiful to make others feel pity for them. Some people would only arouse the hidden ambition in the depths of others' hearts. Right now, Dustless was such a person. He only wanted to trample on Libel. His entire body was burning up, and his face was red as if he was poisoned. Veins were popping out on his forehead, and his breathing was accelerating. "My entire body is feeling unwell. Hurry up and use your body to cool me down." Dustless's tone revealed a hint of irritation and impatience. He suddenly realized his thoughts. In the past, he was simply too naive and childish. His fist was bigger, and he could just snatch whatever he liked. There was no need to care about other people's feelings. This was the privilege of strong. "Yes, master." Libel's white, jade-carved chin nodded slightly. She forcefully concealed the discomfort in her heart. Her slender hands gently undressed Dustless until a pair of underwear was revealed. Only then did someone jump out and yell for them to stop. "Please stop before going too far. I'm the president of the student council." As the president of the student union, she couldn't tolerate this kind of thing happening. However, Dustless did not pay attention to her and directly ignored her. Dustless directly pulled Libel into his embrace and treated everyone else as air. Mm. Opening his mouth, Dustless roughly captured Libel's thin lips, and his kiss became even more intense. Only when Libel couldn't bear it anymore and was about to suffocate did Dustless stop. "Everyone, is it really all right for you all to watch me and Libel do that sort of thing?" Dustless asked as he stroked Libel's hair. "You're the one who should be paying attention." Ji Tsutsong was on the verge of going berserk. The devil chi in his entire body was already leaking out. If it wasn't for Dustless's strength, he would have already gone up and killed him. "So what if I don't pay attention?" Dustless was extremely arrogant and did not put Ji Chong in his eyes at all. "I can tell you clearly that I will not listen to your orders. Don't rely on your sister's reputation. If you have the guts, then fight me." After saying that, Dustless's chakra vibrated, and his remaining clothes were torn apart. He looked at Libel, who was kneeling on the ground, mockingly. "Yes, master. I understand what you mean." Libel moved closer to Dustless and obediently nodded. "Gulp, gulp." Dustless narrowed his eyes and carefully savored the softness of Libel's mouth. He could not help but moan in pleasure. A pair of adulterous couple. Ji Chong cursed. His tightly clenched fists had dense, bulging veins. Dustless was actually doing such a shameless thing with Libel in broad daylight, especially when Libel's face was filled with curiosity and had the expression of a child eating a lollipop. Ji Chong was in an uproar. Dustless patted Libel's head and gently said, "Take it slow. There's no need to rush, Libel." Then he looked at Ji Chong and suddenly mocked. "You think Libel is very cheap? You don't have the qualifications to criticize others. At the very least, she doesn't need to rely on others to survive. She is self-reliant. I like this kind of girl more." "Really, master?" Libel's heart was filled with warmth. Dustless's image in her heart was instantly elevated. Of course. Dustless gave her a look of praise and appreciation. Hearing this, Libel was even more touched. Her actions became even more attentive. If Libel had some resistance towards Dustless before, then she was completely loyal now. Originally, Dustless still felt some pain. This was also the reason why Libel's technique was not very good. After all, it was her first time. However, when Libel heard Dustless's words just now, she was extremely touched. The barrier in her heart completely disappeared. Motivated and moved, LaBelle worked even harder. As expected, women are meant to be coaxed and tricked, Dustless said proudly. It was also at this moment that a torrential magic fluctuation descended from the sky. Dustless subconsciously used a move to counterattack. Binding Path 81, sky-shattering. A transparent defensive barrier appeared. It was as thin as a cicada's wing and crystal clear. What's the use of this trash? Ji Chi-chong, who had launched the surprise attack, said disdainfully. Just don't cry when you lose. Dustless said with a faint smile. He was extremely bored as he rubbed LaBelle's golden hair. At this moment, she had completely entered a state of selflessness. She turned a deaf ear to everything around her and worked hard for Dustless. Idiot, you've been poisoned quite badly. Rhea sighed. She knew that a young girl in her prime had become Dustless's slave. Although she felt that it was a pity, Rhea's did not mind. She knew that this was only the first. There would be more people falling in the future. With invincible strength, a handsome face, and a mouth that specialized in tricking women, Rhea knew that her supernatural research department would sooner or later become Dustless's harem headquarters. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the majestic magic crashed into the barrier. The originally crystal-clear defensive barrier was instantly corroded and formed a layer of ice. As expected, you can't even withstand a single blow. Ji Chu-tsong curled his lips and shouted, "Break for me!" Ka! 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 The ice did indeed break. However, what Ji Chi-chong could not believe was that Dustless's barrier was still intact. Chapter 1283. Cho Kang-na was shocked. She did not expect the barrier that was only as thick as a piece of paper to be so hard. The chances of it being shaken were zero. Her Weibo could not do it at all. Miss Cho Kang-na, you were the one who attacked me this time, Dustless said with a playful smile. His words sent Cho Kang-na straight to hell. She felt cold all over and lost her most basic senses. She was hit hard. Her full-strength attack could not even break through a barrier in front of Dustless, let alone defeat him. Now it's my turn to fight back. Staring at Cho Kang-na's naked body, Dustless was not in a hurry to make a move. He seemed to be observing where to attack. Just scare her a little. There's no need to do it for real. Rhea pulled on Dustless's clothes, hoping that Dustless would dismiss the idea in his mind. Of course, I'm just scaring her. I'll stop when it's time to stop her from finding trouble with me in the future. You don't have to worry about this, Rhea. Dustless rolled his eyes. Stop when it's time? Hearing that, Rhea rolled her eyes at Dustless. She could not help but complain in her mind. Who knows what you mean when it's time to stop when it's time? Then, staring at Cho Kang-na's body for a few seconds, Dustless teased, as punishment for attacking me, I'll first strip off your clothes and tie you up for 3 days. Are you crazy? Cho Kang-na panicked. She did not even dare to pick up her glasses when they fell to the ground. It was not that she was timid, but the moment Cho Kang-na picked up her glasses, she would be tied up naked for 3 days. She did not dare to doubt Dustless's strength at all. This soft girl looks strong on the outside, but she's actually very weak on the inside. Seeing this, Wu Chun smiled, and the corner of his mouth swept up a wicked smile. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dustless turned into a flash of light and attacked. He appeared behind Cho Kang-na without any warning and tore her clothes apart. Crack, crack, crack. Her smooth and delicate skin was exposed to everyone's eyes. Fortunately, there were no other men here. Only Dustless was able to feast his eyes on her. Ah! An earth-shattering scream resounded through the entire sky. Chi Dekong was on the verge of collapse, and his face was lifeless. I won't let you go, never. Ji Chuetsong gritted his teeth and said. His teeth creaked as if they were about to break. Is this what you meant by a not going overboard? If you knew this would happen, you might as well have killed her. Sigh, Song will also hate me now. Really, why is this troublesome person my fiancé? She knew that Song Na's elder sister, Leviathan, was a Siscon, and this meant that they had offended a demon king. Bastard, who the hell hurt my cute little sister? In the depths of the clouds, a thunderclap exploded. The entire world was silent, and not a single sound could be heard. No one dared to defy that supreme voice. "Ah, I'm sorry. I only played a little game with your sister." Dustless touched his nose embarrassedly and said, "She attacked me. I just want to strip her naked for 3 days. There shouldn't be any problem. After all, it's your sister who attacked me. It shouldn't be too much to punish her a little. Even if you're a demon, you have to be reasonable." Chapter 1284. Is this just a small punishment? Strip the Demon King's sister naked for 3 days. Even if you have 10 heads, it won't be enough to appease Seraphil Sidis' anger. Rias said angrily, her ferocious eyes wanting to bite Dustless to death. This guy is not afraid of the Demon King. He's obviously deliberately angering Seraphil. Huh, you want to strip my lovely sister naked for 3 days? That's a good idea. Are all young people nowadays so playful? A girl with a plump figure descended from the sky, the breeze blowing gently, her twin ponytails swaying back and forth, coupled with her white face, was particularly cute. The girl, like a Sana, has purple dreamy eyes, bright eyes, white teeth, and a proud cleavage that almost bursts out of her clothes. Dustless, who has become more and more shameless, immediately opened the Tensigan and used that perverted insight to spy on Seraphil. In the near future, I'll have a sister-in-law duo like Gilifia and Lise. Who would have thought that the heavens would be in such a hurry to kiss my ass and send me another sister-in-law duo? TSK, TSK. Since the heavens are trying so hard to kiss my ass, then this world won't be destroyed. Dustless secretly decided to give up this world once. Whether it was the world of Naruto, One Piece, or the world of Shinigami, almost all of them were ruined by Dustless in the end. Great! Under the vision of the Tensigan, Seraphil was almost naked. Dustless saw it clearly. Dustless can't find the slightest fault. The only flaw is that the girl's face is full of violent, murderous intent at the moment. You want me to reason with you? Young man, are you kidding? Or are you not awake? Have you ever seen a reasonable demon king? Seraphil's face was full of arrogance. A demon king talking to a little pawn. This is Dustless's honor. And you are definitely the most courageous human I have ever seen. Staring at Dustless with a wretched smile on his face, Seraphil sneered. Since I arrived just now, you have peeked at my Ueshion, tribe 10 times, great Uere, tribe 20 times, and... Speaking of this, Seraphil's face flashed with an unnatural blush, and she subconsciously closed her legs. She stared at Dustless's right eye strangely. That magical eye seemed to be able to see through things. She felt that her most secret place was exposed to Dustless's eyes. He couldn't help but feel awkward. This kid looks pretty good. Staring at Dustless's face, Seraphil's beautiful eyes glowed. The young man's face was like a crown of jade. His 2 large eyes were like the stars in the sky, sparkling. His messy black hair was as black as ink, and his beautiful hair danced in the wind. Dustless's temperament was also extremely extraordinary, and he looked much more mature than his appearance. However, you actually dared to bully my sister. Even if you are Sizak's future brother-in-law, I won't let you off easily. Seraphil's lovely temperament changed drastically, and she suddenly exuded the demeanor of a ruler overlooking the world. It gave off a domineering feeling of supremacy over all living things. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Everyone felt the absolute oppression. Their bodies were all bent, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. They couldn't help but show fear and panic. Allah la la. What's there to be afraid of about this little girl who looks like she's about to explode? This sentence instantly petrified everyone. Their gazes coincidentally turned to the source of the voice. Even if I'm handsome, you don't have to look at me like that. Dustless said embarrassedly, but there was a smug smile on his face. Obviously, he did it on purpose. What did you call me? Seraphil's cheeks swelled up like a hydrogen balloon and turned red. Kid, say it again if you dare. That Riaz almost broke down. She suddenly felt that she was very unlucky to have such a terrible fiancé. Are your ears that bad? I'll repeat it for the last time. Respected and lovely Miss Devil King, I'm calling you a little girl. Hearing that, the entire scene was silent. Everyone was shocked by Dustless's words. Forcibly suppressing the rising waves in her heart that wanted to strangle Dustless, Seraphil asked again, "You know that I'm the Devil King, and you still dare to call me a little girl? I do know that you're the Devil King, but so what?" Dustless looked at her as if she was an idiot. "Good kid, you got guts. You wanted to strip song non-naked for 3 days? I'm going to strip you naked for 30 days. Seraphil said angrily. She felt like her lungs were about to explode. "Is that so? What a coincidence." Dustless pursed his lips. Under everyone's gaze, he said something shocking. "I also want to strip you naked and just look at you naked. That's too boring. After stripping you naked, I'll treat you as a trophy and have a pleasant sex drive. I thought you were young and ignorant, but now it seems that you're a complete idiot. I'm afraid you don't even know how to spell the word death. You also don't understand what the Devil King means to this world." Seraphil shook her head, telling herself that there was no need to argue with a child. "You're right. I really don't understand what the Devil King means to this world, but..." An extremely terrifying aura spread out from Dustless. He said expressionlessly, "You'll soon understand what I mean to this world. As a higher-level life form, after going through the baptism of several worlds, his strength had already reached an unprecedented level. It was very suitable to use a Devil King to establish his dominance." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With that, Dustless's body turned into a dazzling light and rushed out, arriving behind Seraphil at the speed of light. She was still in shock and disbelief, as if she had not realized how Dustless disappeared. Chapter 1285. Shock flashed across Seraphil's pretty face. She didn't expect Dustless to be so fast. He was so fast that she didn't even have time to react. It was as terrifying as traveling through space. He disappeared from her sight like a ghost. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Feeling a chill behind her, Seraphil subconsciously turned around and saw a golden greatsword slashing down. In a moment of desperation, she hurriedly used a move to defend herself. A high-density ice barrier appeared above her head like a wall. Ka. It didn't look impressive, but the crude barrier she used at the critical moment was pretty good at defense. It instantly blocked the heavenly sword of clouds formed by the glint fruit. "I have to say, I really underestimated you." Seeing that his attack was blocked, Dustless took a step back and put away the heavenly sword of clouds. "Of course, you must have underestimated me." As soon as she said that, Seraphil regretted it. Dustless's tone was as if their positions had been switched. Dustless had become a peerless powerhouse, while she herself had become a rookie. Where was her dignity as the Demon King? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With a gentle wave of her slender hand, numerous ice cones shot out like a shower. Seraphil's attainments in ice magic were extremely high. She used it with ease. As long as it was an ice magic attack, there was nothing she couldn't do. Seeing this, Dustless smiled sweetly. He didn't dodge or counterattack, as if he had accepted his fate and quietly waited for death to descend. "You're so weak?" Seraphil's crescent eyes flashed with doubt. She couldn't help but frown. Dustless didn't seem like the kind of person who would give up easily. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The ice cones pierced Dustless's body, but there was no bloody scene. It was as if he didn't exist. The ice cones simply filtered through Dustless's body. The injured area only emitted a faint golden light, which then quickly healed. What kind of heaven-defying ability is this? Ignoring physical attacks? Or can it heal all wounds? Seraphil's eyes stopped moving. She had seen countless mystical moves, but this was the first time she had seen such a strange move that defied common sense. "It's just a small trick." Dustless gently shook his head. Then, with a glare, he crossed the distance in an instant and appeared in front of Seraph in the blink of an eye. The two were so close that they could even hear each other's breathing. "It smells really good." Dustless was not in a hurry to attack. The young girl's body fragrance invaded his nose and ears without warning, causing him to be distracted for a moment. "You are shameless." Hearing this, Sarah flew into a rage. She raised her hand and unleashed an earth-shattering attack. She was like an ice goddess, and all kinds of matter in the world turned into ice. The ground froze at an incredible speed, as did all the buildings around it. The Colt King Academy had turned into a palace of ice and snow. What a powerful aura! Surprise flashed through Dustless's eyes as his interest was piqued. Not only did Seraphil's sudden outburst not scare Dustless away, it even increased his arrogance. Aren't you proud? I'm going to crush your confidence and make you worthless. With a stern expression, Dustless's body was surrounded by an even greater pressure, temporarily suppressing Seraph's aura. His lips curled into a mocking smile as he took a big stride forward and pulled Seraph into his arms. Furthermore, he had shamelessly snatched away her first time. Boom, boom, boom. Carefully sensing the warmth on her lips that had not yet dissipated, Seraph's head exploded. She subconsciously touched her mouth. Dustless's lips tasted quite good, with an indescribable fragrance. This guy can't be a girl, right? Seraph doubted, then remembered that her virginity was taken away. The surging magic power turned into an endless ocean, shattering the sky. The clear sky disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only endless haze. Black clouds rolled, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The endless thunderclouds squirmed like a human heart. The scene was chilling and involuntarily distanced themselves from Seraph and Dustless. This guy really infuriated Seraph. Riaz was drenched in cold sweat. She knew that she had to choose a new fiancé because Dustless was about to fall. A demon king already had the power to destroy the world. A demon king burning with anger would only increase her power exponentially, and she would be far more powerful than usual. This bastard took away the barrier's virginity. Sung's eyes widened, and for a moment, even the fact that she was still naked was out of her mind. This is the price for infuriating me. Under everyone's fearful gaze, Seraph's body was unaffected by gravity for a moment, and slowly floated into the depths of the sky. With her appearance, it was as if the end of the world was coming, and the world was about to step into destruction. The world became deathly silent, and only suffocating despair was left in the world. Croak, croak, croak. The sound of a celestial body breaking was heard, and a bottomless black hole floated in the void, rapidly expanding and swallowing the entire sky. Since when did I become so strong? Seraph said in a daze as she looked at the black hole that swallowed dozens of kilometers in the blink of an eye. She could not help but be a little dazed. She did not expect such powerful strength to erupt from her anger. She suddenly felt that Syzax and the other demon kings were all jokes. Chapter 1286. Above the ninth heaven, the huge black hole continued to devour the surrounding sky, trying to annihilate the entire world. The unstoppable momentum seemed to pull the whole world into hell to be buried together with it. Really? Why didn't I realize that I was so powerful before? Seraphil smiled, but in the eyes of the enemy, they couldn't help but shudder. Everyone took the initiative to distance themselves from Dustless for fear of being caught in the crossfire. Boy, if you can kneel down and beg me. Looking at the awe-inspiring Dustless, Seraphil couldn't help but feel curious. She still didn't know where Dustless's unshakable courage came from. Forget it. Maybe some people are born with a one-track mind, and the ignorant are fearless. Seraphil was relieved, and a magnanimous look appeared on her pretty face. She said, "If you are willing to apologize and take the initiative to strip yourself naked for 3 days, I can let bygones be bygones. Well, I'm in a good mood now. If you feel that you are late, maybe I refuse." Glancing at Seraphil, Dustless simply responded and didn't say any more nonsense. Boy who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, you're courting death. Seeing this, Seraphil gently raised her hand, and suddenly an ice palm covered the sky. Seraphil's expression was cold, and a big hand containing high-density magical power fell from the sky with her anger. Extremely fragile. Bord looked up, and a ray of flame light appeared in her hand. It was a casual move, but the majestic and motionless ground was pulled by some mysterious force, and instantly became restless. The cool ground was suddenly filled with blazing heat, and a burst of crimson flame overflowed the ground. When the big ice hand was about to hit Dustless, he shouted, and a fiery red halo quietly emerged, and without warning, everything that came in contact with him instantly disappeared. Uchiha Flame Array. The explosion barrier, tens of meters high, rushed into the sky, and the seemingly invincible big ice hand disappeared without a trace in an instant. The heat of the flame barrier evaporated it. Not only that, but Seraphil herself was also attacked by the explosion. Aya! Seraph was shocked and angry. Her words were mixed with shyness. His cute uniform was burned by the high temperature, and his clothes floated in the air. You! Seraphil's eyes widened, and her twin ponytails stood up in anger. Her delicate face was flushed red, and her smile was bewitching. But what was tragic was that she was so angry. How can this guy be so shameless? Do you specialize in hitting other people's clothes? How could such a scum exist in this world? He is the public enemy of all women. Sifil was naked. Her nose was almost crooked from anger. She couldn't breathe properly and was panting heavily. Her graceful body was moving back and forth slightly. That soul-stirring curve made one's heart burn. She's getting worse and worse. Wu Chun sighed with emotion. He wasn't like this in the past. With a slight sway, the whole world passed through his eyes. Wu Chun announced loudly, "You women are all evil spirits who bring disaster to the world. For the future peace, I can only reluctantly catch all of you in one net and return peace to this starry sky." This guy is shameless. Ria's mouth twitched, and her whole face was about to cramp. It was the first time she saw someone as shameless and despicable as Dustless. He was clearly a pervert, and yet he was pointing fingers at others. Shameless. Kid, don't be so smug. You think this is over? I was careless just now. Seraphil's magic power surged, and she set off another apocalyptic attack. Blue magic power that was almost in liquid form overflowed from her body and rushed into the sky. It froze the endless void, and a large ice continent floated in the sky. The sun was blocked, and the light that shone down from the sky was blue cold air. Seems very strong, Dustless said with interest, but his eyes were fixed on Seraphil. His eyes were shining, and it was clear that the naked body was stronger than the apocalyptic attack. Die for me. Seraphil, who was furious, could not take it anymore. She felt that she had lost all dignity and face, and was being played around by Dustless like a clown. Using all her strength, Seraphil threw the ice continent at Dustless. Do you have to be so angry? I just took a look. I didn't even touch it. Dustless spat in dissatisfaction. At the same time, blue materialized chakra appeared from his body and rose hundreds of meters into the air. A behemoth wearing a Tengu helmet and heavy armor appeared. The giant's head reached the sky, and its feet stepped on the ground. Its two eyes, which were bigger than a human's head, looked disdainfully at the common people. It stood silently on the ground, and the vicissitudes of life from its body seemed to have crossed time and space from ancient times. The giant had not made a move, but the people who saw it had already collapsed. Their inner confidence shattered piece by piece and could no longer be healed. The gap between a man and a god could not be made up by pure effort. Looking at the incoming ice block, Kinsusanu's perfect body unsheathed the long sword in his hand. Pucci! A thick cold light fell from the sky, and with a swing, everything was over. The ice, which was 10 kilometers long, was immediately split by an overwhelming force. The perfect body blew it up with a single strike. This gaze is so annoying. The defeated Seraphil locked onto Dustless, who was above Kinsusanu's head. That gaze that ignored all life made her feel particularly fragile. She would die if the giant gently poked her. Chapter 12:87. Seraphil's beautiful eyes flashed with unwillingness. She was a demon king, yet she was being suppressed by an unknown character. Looking at the current situation, the fate of defeat was inevitable. She absolutely couldn't accept it. Still planning to struggle, Dustless frowned. He couldn't help but admire this woman's fighting spirit. An ordinary person's self-esteem would collapse upon seeing Kinsusanu's complete form. Struggle? Are you kidding? I'm one of the demon kings. Enemies can only howl at my feet. Seraphil stood up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws at Dustless, looking quite cute. You forced me to do this. I'll let you know the horror of a demon king. The magic power in Seraphal's body exploded in one go. Because she was good at using ice magic, the explosion was all transparent ice dregs. I remember that she's still young. It's already commendable for her to reach this level. Looking at the majestic magic power gathering in the sky, Dustless nodded in admiration. The ice meteorite ball, completely compressed from high-density magic power, floated above Dustless's head. It was as if Seraphal could make the ice meteorite ball fall with just a thought. Still so confident. Seeing Dustless's sloppy attitude, Seraphal couldn't help but get angry. She gritted her teeth and made the meteorite fall directly. If you do this, Chariot King Academy will also disappear, Song said with an ugly expression. Song said with an ugly face. As for Wu Chun, she ignored him. It's fine. Destroy it and build another one. Seraphal waved her hand. As long as she could get rid of Dustless, she would do anything. Allah, Allah, Allah. You have a lot of complaints against me. Looking at the meteorite falling from the sky, Dustless sighed softly. His whole body emitted an emerald light. What form is this? Everyone was astonished. Dustless suddenly emitted an emerald energy fluctuation. There were also a few spheres hanging behind him, ignoring the existence of gravity. He was like a god overlooking all living beings. Seraph, let's stop playing house. Even if you're tired of playing, you should stop fooling around. Dustless said softly, but he didn't expect these words to ignite Seraphal. Get your facts straight. I'm not a kid. Seething with anger, Seraph stomped her little feet in anger. As expected of a child. Only a child can be as willful as you. The several jadeite spheres behind Dustless were affected. They all turned into liquid and gathered in Dustless's palm. A strand of golden light lingered in his hand. Dustless calmly raised his right hand as he looked at the falling sphere. Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. The golden light flew out from Dustless's hand and extended several thousand meters in an instant. Furthermore, due to the continuous transmission of chakra from Dustless, the golden greatsword's attack range grew larger and larger. It was as if the entire world was a live target for Dustless. Pucci, the towering meteorites were as fragile as cabbage and tofu. They were cut into two hemispherical spheres by the golden greatsword. How is this possible? Seraph exclaimed, her eyes dazed. This is the truth. Countless photons floated in front of Seraph, and Dustless appeared with the golden sky cloud sword in his hand. That's it. Next, it's time to enjoy my spoils. Seraph panicked when she heard this. She exhausted the remaining magic power in her body and was about to run away when Dustless's sudden words discouraged her. The large amount of magic power gathered at the soles of her feet also disappeared. You may be able to escape, but your sister, she... Hee, you know what I mean. Wu Chun threw a coquettish wink at Seraphal and said with a smile, with a shameless expression, "Can a despicable guy like you have the magnanimity of a powerhouse? What's the point of bullying someone else's family?" Seraph was at her wit's end and could only attack Dustless verbally. She sneered. Do you think a person like you would bully ordinary, weak people? Hearing this, Dustless smiled and said nonchalantly, Go ahead and scold me. I'll take my revenge on your sister later. She can't run away anyway. You. Seraph's face darkened. She had hoped that Dustless would regain his integrity and give up the despicable tricks of threatening people. Who would have thought that Dustless was completely hopeless? Not only did he not feel the slightest bit of shame, he became more and more enthusiastic. What do you want? Say it, and I'll definitely agree. Seraph gritted her teeth and said calmly, displaying the demeanor of a female nouveau riche. Hee, I don't care about those materialistic things. Treasures are no different from floating clouds to me. Dustless shook his head resolutely. He stared at Seraph's pretty little face and said maliciously, What I want is very simple. There are only two things far away on the horizon and right in front of me. Seraph frowned and looked around instinctively. There was almost nothing around her that was worth her attention. I don't understand what you're saying. Please explain yourself. Could it be? Scoundrel. A fiery hostility flashed in Seraph's eyes. She stared at Dustless's wretched smile and immediately understood what he wanted. The magic power in her body that was about to be exhausted once again erupted to an unbelievable degree. Stop. Seeing this, Dustless darted to Seraph's side and grabbed her tender white arm. He said coldly, I advise you not to struggle before death. Pointing at the giant black hole in the sky that had yet to expand, Dustless said mercilessly, I forgot to tell you that the energy that tore the sky apart was not created by you. It was created because I didn't control my power well. Chapter 1288. The black hole in the sky was created because I didn't control my power well. In the next few minutes, Seraph's mind was filled with this sentence. She was already wondering how her power increased so much that she could easily break the world. It turned out that all of this was caused by Dustless not controlling his power well. This guy must be a god. Hearing this, Riaz and the others were very certain. They all looked at Dustless in shock, their faces full of fear and fanatical worship. In a world where strength was everything, the strong were the targets of everyone. Riaz's eyes were also filled with worship and admiration. Bastard, what an unlucky year. You've been possessed by the god of misfortune. Compared to the happy Riaz, Canna was different. Her white face turned black, and her tightly clenched fists were covered in sweat. Offending a great god for such a trivial matter, Song's intestines were green with regret. It was impossible to turn back now. There was no way out other than accepting Dustless's conditions. You don't seem to be willing. Dustless looked at the struggling Seraphil as his tone was full of ridicule. Let Canna go, and I'm willing to listen to all your arrangements. Seraphil could only take a step back. She didn't want to get involved in this. That won't do. You are all mine. With a straight face, Dustless said stubbornly, You didn't forget what you said before. Have you ever seen a reasonable demon king? Do you think I need to reason with you now? Seraphil opened her mouth, but she couldn't think of anything to say. She didn't even reason with Dustless just now. Why would he talk about morality with her now? Not only you and your sister Canna. Looking past Seraphil, Dustless stared at Canna's blessings and said savagely, Her blessings are also mine. Seraphil, who lost her balance, almost fell. She said angrily, This is a bandit's agreement. Bandit? Then I'll be a bandit for once. Dustless said with a ferocious expression, You can be lawless, but why should I follow the rules? I don't need to follow your rules. I won't even look at them. Seraph screamed in horror. She suddenly realized that she was being held by a pair of big, hot hands, and she could hear heavy breathing. What do you want? Choking with sobs, Seraphil looked straight into Dustless's scarlet eyes. There was clearly some kind of desire flowing in them. She was so scared that her face turned pale, and her nerves reflexively retreated. However, Dustless's thin and weak arm was as heavy as 1,000,000 kilograms. Not to mention breaking free, it was difficult to even shake him. By the way, Riaz seems to be the fiancé of this rude beast. Something flashed in the corner of Seraphil's eyes as she said, If I'm not wrong, Riaz should be your fiancé, right? Don't you want to consider Riaz's feelings? If she doesn't mind, I don't mind either. Seraph mustered up her courage and said in a tone that even 100 bulls would not be able to pull her back. If Riaz doesn't mind us doing that in public, I don't mind either. Not only that, I'll even do all kinds of positions that you like to please you. Idiot, you took the bait yourself. Hearing that, Dustless chuckled and looked at Riaz frivolously. He asked, My cute Riaz, do you mind? Seraphil also looked at Riaz nervously. Riaz's answer would determine her fate. Will you listen if I mind? It doesn't matter if I mind or not. Do whatever you want. Riaz was speechless as she looked at the stunned Seraphil. She was walking into Dustless's trap on purpose. Would a person who could destroy the world with a snap of his fingers listen to the arrangements of a little woman? Riaz knew Dustless's true thoughts. He might care about her, but it was impossible for Riaz to influence Dustless's will. Then I won't hold back. You said you would do all kinds of positions to please me. If you dare to go back on your word, I'll go play with your sister. Dustless did not try to hide his intentions. His words were extremely explicit, and he did not care about Seraphal's feelings. He unleashed his powerful aura and pressed Seraphal down to the ground from the sky. Croc, croc, croc. Chakra vibrated. Dustless's clothes turned into snow. He did not set up any barriers to prevent anyone from peeking. He was enjoying himself. In Dustless's words, they were going to be on the same side in the future anyway. There was no need to be secretive. Time flew, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After that day of tormenting Seraphal, she was willing to listen to all of Dustless's arrangements. She was also very obedient and did all kinds of positions that made one's heart race and face blush. Dustless had a lot of fun playing with her. Her only condition was to let Song Na go for now. Even though Seraphal was forcing a smile, it was still the same sentence from before. Dustless was enjoying himself. Dustless did not think much at the time and agreed to Seraphal's condition on the spot. He told her that Song Na was in the Horse King Academy, and her sister was one of his most loyal servants. He was not afraid of the little girl playing any tricks. Another boring school day. Sigh. In the classroom, Dustless was sleeping on his desk. He looked at the eloquent teacher on the podium and felt very conflicted. It seemed to be harder to deal with than a shadow-level fighter or a general. He was not interested in killing him. A normal human was not worth it. I have something to tell you. Riaz pushed Dustless's arm and whispered into his ear, Aisha doesn't have a place to stay at the moment, so I've arranged for her to stay at Junai's house. You and Aisha can switch rooms. You can sleep on the sofa. Chapter 1289. What? You want me to sleep on the sofa? Dustless's eyes widened as he looked at the serious Riaz in a daze. He never thought that he would end up like this, facing the danger of being chased out. Are you kidding me? This is a very serious question. I can't accept this condition. After being stunned for a few seconds, Dustless decisively retorted. Although his skin was thick, and it was the same no matter where he slept, being chased out by Riaz was not a good idea. It's cold now, it's easy to catch a cold. Dustless rubbed his nose as he complained unhappily. To be honest, he had been feeling a little unwell for the past few days. So I can catch a cold too. Dustless could not help but sigh as he noticed that his breathing was a little irregular. Looks like you really do have a cold, but there's no need to worry about such a small illness. Just take 2 pills and rest for a few days. Zhu and I has an air conditioner at his house. If you feel cold at night, you can turn it on. Riaz was obviously a frequent guest at Junai's house, so she was very familiar with it. This stupid woman. She doesn't understand what I mean at all. Dustless was disappointed. He glanced at Riaz from the corner of his eyes and smiled meaningfully. Forget about the air conditioner. I need a considered electric blanket. Electric blanket? Is that a popular thing now? Hearing that, Riaz was stunned. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She knew that Dustless was implying something, but she did not understand what he was talking about. Your comprehension skills are really bad. Dustless rolled his eyes at Riaz. He grabbed Riaz's hand and got straight to the point. The electric blanket I need is different from the normal ones. Not only can it dissipate heat, but the most important factor is that it can warm up my sad mood of being chased out of the sofa. Simply put, it's a human body electric blanket. Electric blankets are so weak, they're too outdated. Not only can the human body electric blanket warm up the bed, but can also warm up the fragile heart. When necessary, it can even be used for sex. It's an omnipotent weapon. It was close to evening on the path home. Achoo! Wu Chan sneezed uncontrollably, and his expression was somewhat dispirited. You can catch a cold? Junai looked at Dustless suspiciously and took the initiative to put some distance between them. How could someone who could easily defeat the Demon King get sick? He instinctively felt that the person in front of him was impersonating Dustless. What the F***CK? Didn't they say that patients should be warmly cared about? Everyone cares about you. Why is it that when it comes to me, it becomes a trick? Everyone chases me away. Dustless cursed madly in his heart. A bitter smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He suddenly felt that he was incomparably miserable. I'm sure that this is Dustless. I will never forget the smell on his body. The blonde girl's face flushed red. She looked very shy, but her eyes were full of courage. She took the initiative to stand beside Dustless. If I'm wrong, the two of you have met less than 5 times. Why are you so familiar with each other? Hearing Isha testify for Dustless, the doubts in Zhu Nai's heart disappeared. It's because you didn't care about me, okay? That's why you didn't notice such a small detail. Dustless looked at Zhu Nai speechlessly and shook his head. That's right. To make it up to you, I'll make you a sumptuous meal today. When Dustless and the other two came out of the supermarket and rushed home, the sky was already dark. About 4 hours later, Zhu Nai finally finished cooking dinner, but it was very sumptuous. Dustless ate with grease dripping from his mouth. The way he wolfed down the food made it hard to associate him with a powerhouse. Those that didn't know better might even think that he was a beggar who hadn't eaten for days. Eat slowly. Drink some water. Don't choke. Isha handed him a glass of water like a little wife. She was much gentler than Zhu Nai, who was watching the show with his hands on his cheeks. Era, don't look at me with such resentful eyes. I'm not Ria's, nor am I a member of your harem. Leave this to Isha. Zhu Nai looked at him innocently. His words made Isha's face turn as red as a ripe apple. Isha, glaring at Zhu Nai, Dustless thought to himself, you're not one now, but you'll be one in the future. Even if you don't want to do it, I'll forcefully conquer you. After slandering Zhu Nai in his heart for a while, Dustless looked at Isha. His skin was thicker than ever. Isha, why don't we do this? We're very familiar with each other anyway, and our relationship isn't bad. If you come, I'll have to sleep on the sofa. I caught a cold too, and I'm sure you don't want to see me sleep on the sofa alone. So, why don't we make do for the time being and squeeze into a bed? I'll move out when Zhu Nai gives me his wallet. Dustless said shamelessly, completely ignoring Zhu Nai's expression of looking at a rascal. Zhu Nai spat out all the water he just drank. He secretly gave him a thumbs up. This was a good reason. Hearing that, Isha's face turned even redder, almost bleeding. She looked at Dustless in embarrassment, nervously pinching the corner of her clothes. Her eyes were changing, and it was obvious that she was still hesitating. I'm just one step away. Seeing that, Dustless laughed secretly, and then pretended to be sickly. His expression was very similar, and even his temperament was filled with a sickly feeling. He kept sneezing. Dustless looks very sick. Let's squeeze into a bed for the time being. Besides, that's your room, so it's my fault. Chapter 1290. Do you want to share a bed with me? Zhu Nai's white skin flushed red. Looking at Isha's innocent and pure little face, she obviously believed Dustless's words without any doubt. She couldn't help but curse Dustless in her heart. Remember, Isha is only 15 years old. Isha, don't listen to his nonsense. There are still many empty rooms in the house. I will go down and clean them up later. This guy obviously has bad intentions, and his motive is not pure. According to my guess, he wants to take advantage of you. Zhu Nai bluntly exposed Dustless's purpose with her hands on her waist. This guy's speed is too fast. Dustless looked at Zhu Nai with resentment in his eyes and finally sighed. After Zhu Nai's disturbance, his inner thoughts faded away. I will remember this for the time being. In the future, I will take it back with interest. Glancing at Zhu Nai from the corner of his eyes, Dustless stared at her delicate little face, and a look of lust and infatuation flashed in his eyes. There is still a long time in the future. There is no need to rush. In an old room, Dustless stared at the hazy moonlight outside the window in a daze. His eyes were empty, and no one knew what he was thinking. Zhu Nai, since you arranged for me to sleep here, I might as well sleep on the sofa in the living room. Looking around at the surrounding environment, ripples appeared in his eyes. Wu Chen complained discontentedly. This was a room for storing groceries, and it was also his temporary residence. I can't sleep. Dustless tossed and turned on the bed for a full hour, but he still couldn't fall asleep. If I want to sleep, I need to find someone to help me. The eyeballs were rolling and soon turned into a scarlet 5-pointed star, which was also Wu Chen's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The void also began to gradually separate, and ripples visible to the naked eye spread. Kamui, his eyes slightly widened, and a girl with revealing clothes, a hot body, a pair of black wings, and purple pupils fell out of the void. Yo, my cutest Shima-chan, Tisafiske, don't look at me with such murderous eyes. You should be grateful to me for letting you live until now, right? The purple extraordinary girl released from Kamui is Amano-shima. At the same time, Dustless also set up a transparent barrier in the room to prevent the outside world from noticing. I will kill you. His plan was destroyed by Dustless. Amano-shima was filled with resentment. His little hand shook, and a sharp spear of light appeared in his hand. You still don't understand the situation. Looking at Amano-shima, Dustless lightly raised his hand, and a small black hole appeared on his palm. 10,000 mammoth heaven pull. The gravity shrouded the room. Amano-shima's body suddenly lost control and fell towards Dustless. It was originally a powerful attack by Dark Cloud. However, due to the gravity's pull, Amano-shima fell into Dustless's arms like a sheep. You. Seeing this, Amano-shima's white, jade-carved nose became crooked from anger. Her little face was red, and the murderous aura in her bright eyes was more intense than before. Now, she was looking for Dustless to ask for more. Tiske. Looking down at Amano-shima from above, her beautiful body was completely exposed to Dustless's eyes. Am I going to be this guy's slave for the rest of my life? Amano-shima clenched her fists, and blood came out of her gums. Everyone has their own favorite life, and she was no exception. Now that she was imprisoned by Dustless, that overwhelming power made Amano-shima fall into despair. In front of Dustless, she was like a clown. Why don't we play a game? If you win, I'll let you go. Hearing this, Amano-shima's heart shook, and the despair in her eyes shone brightly. She excitedly grabbed Dustless's hands. Are you serious? You can't go back on your words. Of course it's real, but there are conditions. Since it's a game, there must be a winner and a loser. If you lose, you have to use your mouth to lick every part of my body, and you can't let go of any part. A wicked smile appeared at the corner of Dustless's mouth, and he suddenly thought of a new trick. How can I do that? If that's the case, how am I different from your slave? Amano-shima rejected him without even thinking. You're my slave to begin with. Hearing this, Dustless curled his lips in disdain and took off his clothes, revealing his well-proportioned body. You have to agree even if you don't want to. Ricketless smiled cruelly, and under Amano-shima's fearful gaze, he pushed her to the ground. What are you trying to do? I agree to play a game with you. Amano-shima, who was scared to death, panicked. She did not expect Dustless to suddenly attack her. That's great. Dustless smiled cunningly and no longer showed mercy. Puffed. Amano-shima teared up from the pain. She did not expect Dustless's game to be such a thing, and her most precious thing was taken away from her in such a blurry situation. Ahem, let me reiterate the rules of the game. After clearing his throat, Dustless said in a wretched manner, If you can't hold on, you lose, and if I can't hold on, I lose. After saying that, Dustless started to work hard without caring about his safety. How can you be so shameless? Amano-shima endured the discomfort in her body. She did not expect Dustless to be so barbaric, and the game he was talking about was obviously a disguised form of oppression, an unequal contract. Amano-shima was sure that she would be the one to lose in the end. Dustless's strength was there, and naturally he was also ridiculously strong in that aspect. She could already see how she would look like when she licked Dustless's body. Chapter 1291. Time passed by quickly. Just as Amano-shima expected, she was defeated in the end. Compared to Dustless, who had unlimited stamina and energy, she was 1,000 miles behind. According to the agreement, Amano-shima had to fulfill the harsh conditions. Despite being defeated, Amano-shima still went back on her words and refused to follow Dustless's bandit treaty. However, in the end, she was no match for Dustless. She was too weak compared to Dustless. Be it illusions, physical attacks, or other abilities, Amano could not be compared to Dustless. In the end, she had no choice but to compromise and accept Dustless's bandit treaty. Sigh, it's already midnight. It's time to sleep. I still have classes tomorrow. Wu Chen laid on the bedding with a lazy expression. Amano had already left for 2 hours. His face still carried a bit of reluctance that had yet to disappear. Looking at the moonlight outside the window, Dustless pulled the bed lightly around 3 or 4 in the morning. Just as he was about to crawl into the bed, a dark red, demonic light suddenly appeared in the room. A magic circle that Dustless was familiar with appeared on the ground. He could vaguely see fiery red hair. Lise? What is she doing in the middle of the night? Is she doing a spot check? Seeing this, Dustless temporarily stopped his sleepiness. He could not help but complain about Li's intentions. Let's see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeves. Dustless quickly closed his eyes. His breathing was stable and natural. His closed eyes looked no different from sleeping. Did I come to the wrong place? The girl's crisp voice was like the sound of nature. There was a hint of doubt in her voice. It was obvious that she was unfamiliar with the environment. This was obviously a storeroom where old furniture was placed. What is she trying to do? In the middle of the night. Out of curiosity, Dustless finally opened his eyes and secretly looked at Lise. Her perfect facial features outlined the girl's peerless beauty. Lise frowned slightly. There was a hint of doubt on her face. In her memory, Dustless did not live in a place like this. What's her goal? Seeing this, Dustless was even more puzzled. He guessed without hesitation. Is she afraid that I will dislike her? Dustless could easily suppress and defeat the Demon King. In this world, how many people were worthy of him? And Riaz was just the sister of a Demon King, so it was normal for Dustless to have such thoughts. No matter what, we're going to be a family in the future. How dare you doubt my character? Since you're going to be my fiancé, I'll never leave you. Dustless muttered to himself as he looked at Riaz's sorrowful face. As if noticing Dustless's weak movements, Riaz stared at the sleeping man and quietly walked to him. Under the moonlight, Dustless's fair face was eye-catching. Riaz's thoughts stopped for a moment, and the world in her mind was filled with only one Dustless. This guy. Thinking about Dustless's past, Riaz sighed softly. While the time they spent together was short, she knew Dustless very well. Invincible strength, handsome looks, and the confidence that he would never fail. Also, there was a domineering aura hidden deep in his soul. It all made people curious about where this guy came from. Riaz's face had a rare tinge of loneliness and self-deprecation. Dustless's strength was strong enough to suppress and even beat up the Demon King. There was no one in the world who could compare to him, and Riaz herself felt that she was not worthy of Dustless. After all, the gap between their strength was like a natural barrier that could not be crossed. This guy doesn't sleep well at all. He's like a child. Riaz realized that Dustless was no different from a child of a few years old. His body was even lying horizontally. Where did you come from? Are you really some unknown, mysterious Demon King? Or the reincarnation of God? With her hands on her cheeks, Riaz quietly observed Dustless's face. Her mind was running at full capacity as she began to think about the background of this person who could shatter heaven and earth with just a wave of his hand. I thought tonight was going to be boring, but it looks a lot more interesting now. Dustless's observation hockey expanded. Even with his eyes closed, Riaz's every move could not escape Dustless's perception. There must be something going on for her to visit in the middle of the night. Let's see what tricks you have up your sleeves. You're still far from being able to fight me. Just as Dustless was about to continue to pretend to be asleep, Riaz unexpectedly spoke first. The signs of pretending to be asleep are too obvious. Riaz's lips curled up into a sly smile and said, "Sometimes being too normal is the biggest flaw. You're acting so natural. To be honest, I'm very suspicious. After all, you're too different from how you usually are." I see. I'm too smart for my own good. Hearing that, Dustless opened his dark eyes, and Riaz immediately jumped into his sight. I say, Miss Minister, before you launch a sneak attack in the middle of the night and expose someone else's disguise, you have to give a reasonable explanation for your intentions. Dustless asked quietly. His expression was calm and extremely calm. Chapter 1292. There were only two possibilities for a sneak attack in the middle of the night. Either she really wanted Dustless and wanted to give herself to him, or something big happened. Am I the kind of troublesome woman who only comes to you to solve her problems? I'm so sad, Dustless. We are engaged. What's wrong with me coming to understand you in advance? Riaz made an aggrieved expression. Her excellent acting skills were unparalleled. Her eyes were filled with tears. That's so exaggerated. You're about to cry with just one sentence. The best actor or whatever is nothing compared to you. Dustless did not know whether to laugh or cry. He thought to himself that women were all made of water. How can my lovely Riaz be the kind of woman who only comes to you for trouble? That's just a rumor. In my heart, you're like the blood flowing in my body. Even if I have invincible strength, leaving you will only lead to death. Dustless smiled flatteringly. His flattery was very treacherous. Women were meant to be coaxed and tricked. Tell me, why is your mouth so sweet? It's like you've eaten honey. Did you do something dirty behind my back again? Riaz asked with a straight face and a very serious tone. On the surface, Riaz's arms around Dustless's neck were even stronger. She had already covered Dustless's entire face with her huge breasts. Of course not. Dustless denied it immediately. He felt a headache coming on to Riaz's intuition that seemed to have seen everything with her own eyes. That's not right. Why do I smell another woman in this room? Riaz looked at Dustless suspiciously. Her gaze became even deeper, as if she could see through a person's heart. Dustless's face was unnatural. He changed the topic and asked, "What's the matter in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you're really here to communicate with me and experience the feelings before marriage. If that's the case, you know what I mean, Riaz." Dustless smiled ambiguously as he purposely raised a certain important part of his body, gently teasing Riaz's delicate legs. His face, however, had a mischievous smile. Riaz's face flushed red as she glared at Dustless. She no longer kept him in suspense and said, "My mother and father want to see you, their future son-in-law. They are very curious about your deeds. My brother Sazax is also very interested." Riaz revealed her intentions and looked at Dustless expectantly. "So it's to meet the parents." Dustless was enlightened. He glanced at Riaz and nodded in agreement. He also yearned for the legendary underworld, especially Riaz's family. Moreover, it was inevitable for a son-in-law to meet his future mother-in-law. "Ever since I forcefully took Gilifia away, we haven't met again, and she seems to be avoiding me. Sometimes I would send someone else to inform Lise of something." In his mind, the beautiful girl in maid attire appeared again, and Dustless's eyes began to drift. "I'm right in front of you, and you're still thinking about other women. Damn it." Riaz snorted in dissatisfaction as her hand reached for Dustless's waist and then did a 360-degree turn. "Ouch, that hurts." Dustless yelped in pain as he looked into Riaz's clear eyes and said angrily in his mind, "I can't say that I was thinking about having sex with your sister-in-law. Gilifia, Riaz, help me massage my back." Perhaps it was because Tianai and Shima had been fighting for too long, but Dustless felt a chill all over his body. Looking at Riaz, who was barely covered, he also lost interest. "You really know how to enjoy yourself." Riaz shook her head. Despite her words, she very considerately followed Dustless's instructions. Time flew, and after a few hours, the sky in the distance was already turning bright. The warm light chased away the bone-chilling darkness, and everything was in a state of prosperity. "Dustless, it's time for your morning exercise." The girl's crisp voice sounded like she was enjoying herself, and there was even the sound of footsteps going up the stairs. "Oh no, it seems to be Aisha." Riaz immediately opened her beautiful eyes, and there was a flash of panic. She was still sleeping with Dustless in each other's arms. If Aisha saw this, it would be terrible. "Hurry up and tell Aisha to stop outside and not come in." Riaz pushed the sleeping Dustless hard, hoping that Dustless would say something to stop Aisha. "Let her be." Dustless turned his body, and with his back facing Ria's, a sly smile appeared on his face. Thinking of Aisha's weird personality, he couldn't wait for her to come in and catch them in the act. "You." Ria's pointed her finger at Dustless and looked at Dustless's unyielding face. She couldn't help but get angry, and a dark red magic wave appeared all over her body. Just as she was about to use the magic circle to leave, it was already too late. Bang! Aisha broke through the door, and Riaz, who was about to leave naked, came into view. Aisha, we the minister and Dustless are really cunning, hiding it from Aisha. I want to join you guys. The weather had been a little hot recently, and Aisha didn't wear much, so she took off her jacket, revealing her naked body. Then, under Riaz's shocked gaze, Aisha jumped up and pounced at Dustless. "Aisha, don't be so impulsive. What if you hurt yourself?" Dustless saw this and quickly stood up. He was very excited, and his face was full of concern, afraid that Aisha would fall. But in his heart, he was thinking, damn, good jump. Chapter 1293. Of course, Riaz knew what Dustless was thinking. She naively thought that Dustless was afraid that Aisha would fall asleep. But seeing Aisha like this, she knew that this kid was doing it on purpose. Riaz let out a cold snort and swung her snow-white, jade-like leg in a kick. Thud! Dustless's mind was focused on Aisha, and Riaz was also neglected by her for a moment. Caught off guard, Riaz sent her flying with a kick. Thud! Dustless's body finally landed on the wall, and Aisha was caught by Riaz. I was sent flying by someone's kick. Looking at Riaz in shock, Dustless couldn't seem to explain this result. He froze on the spot and didn't move. Looking back, he had already traversed 3 worlds: Naruto, Shinigami, One Piece. Along the way, Dustless had destroyed countless strong people with various methods. He didn't expect to stumble when it came to Riaz, even though it was his own carelessness that caused this disaster. You think you could just kick me? There's no such thing as that. Rubbing his sore left waist, he could still see Riaz's footprints. I'm about to go to the underworld. You kicked me, so I'll be merciful and let you go this time. This grudge will be transferred to your sister-in-law. Let her slowly atone for your sins. Dustless put on his clothes, and his evil smile disappeared. Inside the Supernatural Research Department of Chariot King Academy, the members who were usually away from each other more often than not also came. Dustless also gave Riaz's face, so he sat on the sofa in a daze out of boredom. He held a thick book in his hand and looked at it. Sometimes he would nod secretly, and sometimes he would show a thoughtful expression. He was very focused and serious, reading with great interest. Right now, only he and Junai were in the department. Everyone else had gone out to do their own things. Strange, this guy always sleeps in class. What kind of book is it that fascinates him so much? Out of curiosity, Junai tiptoed and walked behind Wuchun. His footsteps were silent. Allah, Allah, Allah. Classmate Dustless, what book are you reading so diligently? Can you lend me The History of the Workmouth Maniac? Junai looked at the exquisite pictures in the book in astonishment. All the pictures were not suitable for children. That guy Hyoto Issei forgot to take it. I was just about to burn it, but you actually came looking for me. Here you are. A hint of awkwardness flashed through Dustless's eyes as he hurriedly shifted the blame to Big Brother Chung. After all, he was a world-renowned pervert. However, this book wasn't written by Dustless. He wasn't like Big Brother Chung, who only knew how to fantasize. Speaking of which, when are we going to the underworld? Seeing that Junei was about to dig deeper, Dustless quickly changed the topic. I can't wait anymore. I want to pay a visit to Riaz's parents and brother. We will leave in a while. Riaz has something to do with President Song. She will leave when she arrives. Zhu and I nodded slightly and looked at Dustless strangely. For some reason, she felt that Dustless was implying something when he mentioned Riaz's family. All right, how's I Ching's training going? Dustless tried his best to change the topic while hiding the history of the Workmouth Maniac. Hearing this, Junai's eyes flashed with disapproval. She sighed and said, he's number 1 in the school when it comes to women, but training is really hard for him. Dustless smiled, but didn't say anything. The one who was training with Hyodo Issei every day was Kiba Yudo. It was no wonder that Hyodo Issei wasn't interested. He was already jealous of Kiba Yudo's strong and handsome aura. Now that he was forced to undergo forced training, he was very depressed. Junai we busy. Before Dustless could finish his words, blood-red mana fluctuations spread out. Then, a silver-haired woman with an elegant temperament and a refined demeanor, wearing a maid uniform, emerged from the magic array. Gilifia? Dustless and Junai asked at the same time. Compared to Junai, who had expected this, Dustless was much more surprised. She knew that she would run into me if she went to find Ria's, but she still came to me. She's provoking me in a different way. Last time, Dustless forced Gilifia to go with him, and the two of them stepped into the clouds together. During that time, he tortured Gilifia so much that whenever she mentioned Dustless, she would feel nauseous. Now, she actually dared to show up in public. Dustless didn't expect her to do so. My lovely, oh no, my esteemed sister-in-law. The harsh words almost made Gilifia choke and fall down. Even if she covered it up perfectly, Dustless could still see the anger and embarrassment in her eyes. That was a slip of the tongue. I mistook you for Ria's. Gilifia clenched her teeth and cursed Dustless for being shameless. How could he make a slip of the tongue? And how could he mistake a living person? It was obvious that he did it on purpose. Don't worry about it. Just pay more attention in the future. Gilifia said calmly, as if she was seeing Dustless for the first time. I haven't seen you in a while, and your temper has gotten worse. Staring at Gilifia, who was like a saintess that he could only look up to but not touch, Dustless's eyes suddenly changed. His black pupils were swallowed by red light, and the three tomo in his eyes turned slowly. He then glared at Gilifia. This is the world in Gilifia's eyes suddenly changed. The scene she didn't want to recall the most invaded her mind. The scene of her being F***ed by Dustless replayed in front of her eyes like a movie. Chapter 1294. Gilifia subconsciously looked at Junai. Seeing that her expression was normal, she breathed a sigh of relief. Presumably, she was the only one who could see Dustless tormenting her. It must be this guy's doing, definitely. Gilifia's teeth creaked, but she didn't dare to act up. Not to mention that she wasn't as strong as Dustless. She couldn't bring herself to talk about such an unbearable scene. Miss Gilifia, are you here to pick us up? Junai very warmly moved to Gilifia's side. It wasn't hard to see that the two had a good relationship. Well, a trace of bitterness flashed through Gilifia's eyes. In truth, she didn't want to come, but who would have thought that her cheating husband, Syzax, would insist that she come to pick up Dustless and the others? He was pushing his wife to someone else's bed. Yes, go tell Ria's family to get ready. Gilifia answered elegantly, her every move exuding an air of nobility. Phew! Seeing this, Dustless's eyes glowed. The possessiveness in his eyes was almost tangible. Dustless had seen countless beautiful women. His harem was full of beauties. But someone like Gilifia, whose every move was elegant and graceful, was rare. Her unique elegance was like a powerful aphrodisiac, bewitching Dustless's nerves. I'll go find him now. Junai nodded lightly, then turned into a gust of wind and left. Only Gilifia and Dustless were left in the paranormal research department. Don't force my hand. Gilifia was the first to attack. Her murderous intent exploded, and her majestic mana pressed down on Dustless like a mountain. Don't use your child-beating skills on me. Boring. Dustless leisurely walked to the sofa and sat down. Gilifia's pressure had no effect on him at all, not even the most basic of intimidation. With your strength, you're still far from being able to defeat me. The difference in strength between a high-level creature and a low-dimensional creature isn't something that can be made up for by hard work alone. I can see that your magic power has increased sharply recently. You must have gone through a lot of hard training. Dustless immediately noticed Gilifia's strange behavior and gave her an appreciative look. Gilifia, you've worked hard, but some things are destined. Just like the sun rising from the east, some things can't be violated. That's all you'll get if you follow Sazak's all your life. What are you trying to say? She had to admit that Dustless was right. The gap between them wasn't something that could be overcome with hard work alone. You still don't understand? I've already said so much. Dustless sighed and walked up to Gilifia. He lifted her chin with his thumb and said frankly, "It's simple. Be my woman, and I can give you power comparable to a god." Gilifia felt as if she'd been electrocuted. Recalling how Dustless had ruthlessly ravaged her, she opened her mouth to refuse, but her throat seemed to be choked by an invisible hand. She couldn't speak at all and could only stare blankly at Dustless. Silence means you're agreeing. With a gentle smile, Dustless casually pulled Gilifia into his arms. "No, I'm not agreeing. You're cheating." Coming back to her senses, Gilifia struggled with all her might. Powerful magic waves broke out of her body as she tried to push Dustless away with her own strength. But she was destined to be disappointed. Dustless's body was like glue that stuck to Gilifia's body. She couldn't push him away no matter what she did. Just what kind of monster is this guy? Gilifia was exasperated. She was already a mother, but she was still being hugged by Dustless. She was so embarrassed that she wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. Don't try to guess where I came from. Knowing my actual strength will only make you feel more despair. Remember, Gilifia, the truth is always painful, and reality is always cruel. Ignorance is bliss, and the more you know, the more boring your life will be. Dustless's long speech left Gilifia in a daze. She agreed with Dustless that ignorance is bliss. Sometimes, the more you know, the better. I didn't expect you to. Bastard, let go. Gilifia, who'd just been looking at Dustless in a new light, felt the small hands roaming around her body. Her face turned red, and her last good impression of him vanished in an instant. "You want me to let go? What kind of joke is this? Ria's kicked me in the morning. As her sister-in-law, it shouldn't be too much for you to repay her for kicking me, right? You two have a deep relationship, so it's fine to be considerate of each other." Dustless's expression showed that it was only right. Not only did he have no intention of stopping, he even increased the strength in his hands. That's the logic of a robber. Gilifia almost vomited blood. "It's clearly between you and Ria's, so why are you taking revenge on me?" Dustless smiled at Gilifia's complaints. Just as he was about to have a deeper conversation with her, a group of uninvited guests arrived. "TSK, you ruined my plans. I'll find you in the underworld. You can't run away anyway." Seeing that Riaz, Junai, and the other members of the Supernatural Research Department had all arrived, Dustless gave up on the idea of conquering Gilifia. She could run away, but she couldn't run away. He was about to visit Gilifia's home, and there would be more opportunities then. "Everyone, are you ready? We're going to the underworld now." After tidying up her messy clothes, Gilifia returned to her cold and untouchable self. Chapter 1295. The underworld was a gathering place for demons. It was vast and boundless, and countless families had taken root here. Among them were the demon kings, who were extremely powerful. "Is this the minister's home?" Hyuga Issei stared blankly at the majestic building before him. The castle under the sun looked especially sacred and majestic, and this was only the location of the villa. If there were other places like the garden. All in all, Hyuga Issei's knowledge of the place had been refreshed. The underworld? It's just SOSO. Nothing special about it. Dustless appeared to be very calm as he glanced at the majestic castle. He was not a country bumpkin like Hyuga Issei. Back when he was a celestial dragon, the castle he lived in was similar to this. "Riaz, is there some kind of important occasion today? Why is it so grand?" The villa was decorated with luxurious cereal ornaments. There were also a large number of servants who were busy decorating the garden. It seemed that they were very busy. "I'm not too sure about that." Riaz expressed that she did not know. She subconsciously looked at Gilifia, and she was sure that Gilifia knew the reason. Gilifia's neck turned. Although she sensed Riaz's questioning gaze, she kept her mouth shut. "You're still keeping me in suspense. This is a serious crime, Gilifia." Dustless shrugged. When he laughed, his whole body moved. making him look very wretched. Gilifia, who happened to see this, felt a chill run down her spine. She instinctively moved away from Dustless and approached Riaz. "Thank you for your hard work, everyone. Go in and rest." Gilifia raised her right arm elegantly and showed her signature professional smile. Perhaps she only felt safe when she was with Riaz. "Ah, so these are Riaz's family? All of them look extraordinary." A gust of spring breeze blew, and a gentle voice with a hint of surprise came from the villa. Looking straight into the dark villa, a tall and slender woman walked in with graceful steps. This person had a beauty that could captivate even birds and beasts. Her appearance was outstanding and refined, elegant and noble. She wore a long white dress, and her steps were graceful and calm. She was already used to being stared at by a large group of people. Her sacred aura made people feel ashamed of themselves. Facing the gazes of the crowd, she responded with a smile, giving people the feeling that she was very easygoing. Of course, there was one exception. The young man beside Riaz. A ripple flashed through the flawless eyes of the beautiful woman. She looked at Dustless with interest and couldn't help but secretly nod her head. His expression was resolute, and his character seemed calm and confident. Although he looked young, he revealed an indescribable maturity, which gave her a very strange feeling. The Dustless in front of her seemed to be older than her. Not only was the stunning woman curiously sizing up Dustless, but Dustless was also sizing up this woman with great interest. "This is Lias's mother, Venerana Gimmenry? She doesn't look like it. She looks more like Lias's sister." Dustless slandered in his heart as his eyes shone brightly. Dustless, just as Dustless was daydreaming, Riaz's dissatisfied voice came. "It's rude of you to look at my mother with such vulgar eyes." Riaz's words were like a deep water bomb. Everyone was stunned and looked at Dustless in shock. Ahem. Dustless's mouth twitched violently as he glared at Riaz. 100,000 alpacas army flew through his mind. "Auntie? Really? You're so young." Dustless smiled shyly and praised. "I'm so sorry just now. I actually mistook you for Riaz's sister." Venerana's skin was as smooth as silk. Even light could be reflected off her skin. She didn't look like Riaz's mother at all. "Ah, I've seen your picture before. I think you're called Dustless, Riaz's fiancé. Your mouth is like honey. You really know how to talk." Vaini Lana's smiling face was like a blooming flower, beautiful beyond compare. "You want to compete with me? You're still 100 years too young." Wuchen glanced at Riaz proudly before his gaze landed on her mother's head again. Even though what he said just now was flattery, Vinalana really didn't look like someone who had given birth before. "Go in and rest. Dinner is ready." Gilifia went into work mode with a serious expression. "Grumble." Wuchen's stomach grumbled twice. He was really hungry. He raised his head and looked into the depths of the villa. Wuchen vaguely saw a dazzling array of dishes. "You can call me sister from now on. I like a lot." Realizing that his wrist was being held by a warm hand, Dustless jerked his head up. The charming Venerana came into view. Her eyes were squinted into a line. It wasn't hard to see that she liked Dustless very much. "Ahem, this isn't appropriate. Auntie." He coughed awkwardly. He was just saying it casually. Besides, Dustless's actual age was much older than Venerana. "I also think it's inappropriate, mother." Riaz put her hands on her hips and glared. Her nose wrinkled in dissatisfaction. "Allah, Allah, Allah. My lovely daughter is actually jealous?" Seeing this, Venerana's eyes were filled with mockery. She found it more and more interesting. Like an elf, she grabbed Dustless's right hand tightly and deliberately put his hands near her big breasts and shook them around. Just a little bit more, and he would be buried inside. "You!" Riaz saw this and stomped her feet in anger. In the end, she could only sigh helplessly. It sounded very powerless. The dissatisfaction on her flushed face faded. She looked at Dustless with pity. Although it's a bit embarrassing, Mother's personality is always so unpredictable. Just sacrifice yourself and call her sister. Chapter 1296. Hearing that, Dustless's face twitched violently. This was worse than killing him. Sis. 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 Dustless tried to say it, but he couldn't say it even after a long time. It was really hard to say. He was also someone who had lived for a few hundred years. He was qualified to be Venelana's ancestor. Oh, forget it. My cute son-in-law will tease you next time. Go in and wait. My husband and Sizax have been waiting for a long time. Looking at Dustless, who was in pain, Venelana couldn't help but chuckle. This family must be mentally ill. Dustless stared at Riaz, who had entered the mansion, and shook his head with a bitter smile. He then stepped in as well. Inside the mansion, the decorations were luxurious. The spacious room was filled with a group of servants. They were all women. Although they were not as eye-catching as Riaz and Venelana, they were all beauties. Gulp! The corner of Hyoto Issei's mouth was like the overflowing yellow river. His saliva flowed for 3,000 feet. His eyes were filled with the dazzling Yuelong tribe. How should I call you? You have to call me Sis. Should I call you little brother then? It feels like a good match. The name Dustless is too unfamiliar. Venelana walked to Dustless elegantly. She lowered her chin and looked at Dustless thoughtfully, as if she was looking for a suitable name. It's normal to feel unfamiliar when meeting for the first time. Dustless complained in his heart. He was speechless about Riaz's mother. Why don't you call me? I'll call you Chinkuan from now on. Venelana didn't give Dustless a chance to speak. She swore, this name is much better. It suits my future son-in-law very well. Hearing that, Wu Chan raised his eyebrows slightly. When he was about to refuse, he thought of Venelana's unpredictable temperament and decided to leave it at that. It was hard to guess the thoughts of this weird hot mom. Speaking of which, Chun Kuan, what do you think about the situation in the demon realm now? Venelana suddenly changed the topic and asked with a serious expression, Demon world? Dustless couldn't help but stare blankly. It was said that women's thinking was leapfrogged, and now it seemed to be true. Just a moment ago, she was still acting like a flirting little girl. Now, she was suddenly talking about the situation of the fiend realm. Dustless really didn't know how to react for a while. This has nothing to do with me. I have no interest in intervening in the battle between demons, fallen angels, and angels. Dustless replied calmly with a stern expression. Your thinking is somewhat naive. Venelana blinked, and her soft voice made people involuntarily believe her. When a matter escalates into a serious problem that the whole world has to face, do you think you can still stay out of it? This. Dustless raised his eyebrows and fell silent. What Venelana said was indeed a problem that could not be ignored. It was fine if you did not provoke others and lived a quiet life, but could you be sure that others would not provoke you? Needless to say, this was impossible. I'm no different from joining the struggle of this world. I have no interest in the struggle between the various factions, and I have no interest in knowing more about it. Dustless reiterated his principle again. If people don't provoke me, I won't provoke them. If people provoke me, I'll pay them back 100 times. But if some people have ideas about me and my friends, then I can only be forced to raise my butcher's knife again and clean up this world. Looking straight ahead, his indifferent eyes were full of contempt for everything. His magnanimous tone showed no fear. He knew that there were countless gods in this world and countless powerhouses, but this was not a reason for Dustless to be afraid. Moreover, it was not like he had never defeated a god before. You're so young, but your heart is already so black. Venelana pretended to be afraid, but there was a satisfied smile at the corner of her eyes. Dustless was very much to her liking. He was strong, but he was low-key and happy to be ordinary. He had his own principles for everything, and he would never back down. She sincerely felt that Riaz had found a good husband. Compared to Rizel of the Phoenix family, Dustless was like a god descending from the heavens. At the same time, for some reason, Venelana felt a little jealous. Dustless was young, and his future was limitless, especially now that he had the strength to laugh at the heavens. His future potential was immeasurable. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, the strong were favored by everyone. During dinner, the luxurious dining table was filled with a dazzling array of food, and the aroma in the air was enough to whet one's appetite. Riaz, Dustless and her family were all present. On the main seat sat a red-haired middle-aged man and Vainilana. Other than that, there was a young man beside them who attracted the attention of no car. He had the same red hair as Ria's, and his handsome face was very gentle. The faint smile on his face gave off a very approachable feeling. He was one of the 4 demon lords, and Ria's brother, Sazax Gimli. Obviously aware of Dustless's observation, Sazax looked up and smiled politely, very serene and sunny. F***CK, don't be like that. I'm the one who made you a cuckold. You're smiling so kindly. I have a feeling that you'll give Gilifia to me. Dustless complained in his mind. At the same time, he sneaked a glance at Gilifia. The latter also had a conflicted look on her face, full of uncertainty about the future. Everyone lowered their heads and ate in silence. The atmosphere was a little awkward and depressing. Just when everyone thought that they were going to brush it off, Ria's father opened his mouth, and what he said almost made Dustless's head explode. Not just Dustless, everyone looked at Ria's father in shock. Chapter 1297. When you plan to marry my daughter. Also, that young lady from the Phoenix family, I think her name is LaBelle, your personal maid. The Phoenix family has agreed to marry her to you. I hope that you too can get married soon. These words were like a storm that could destroy the world. Everyone, including Wu Chun, was thunderstruck until they were charred on the inside and tender on the outside. Bastard, my goddess is gone just like that. God damn it. Issei, Hugh too wanted to cry, but no tears came out. His glass heart was shattered. Not only did he snatch away Ria's, who everyone admired, but now he did not even let LaBelle go. I strongly object. Ria's reflexively stood up as if she was following her instincts. When she came to her senses, Ria's face was filled with shock and disbelief. What's wrong? Ria's father asked. Anyway, I can't accept him marrying 2 women at once. I have to be the first. Ria's, who was at a loss for words, casually found an excuse. In fact, when she stood up, she did not know why, but she felt very uncomfortable. What do you think, Shinkoen? Ria's mother, Venerana, looked at Dustless with her serene eyes. She held her cheeks with her hands, looking forward to Dustless's answer. Hearing this, Dustless, who could not find an excuse, was speechless. It did not matter whether LaBelle married him or not, because LaBelle was Dustless' personal maid now. No one could take her away. Marriage was just giving her status. From a certain perspective, this was more like an olive branch from the Phoenix family. Rissel Phoenix had personally experienced Dustless' strength. Knowing that LaBelle could not come back, she might as well marry Dustless directly. At the same time, she could also make Dustless owe her a favor. Any time is fine. Dustless naturally would not reject a beauty throwing herself at him. He secretly gave Ria's father a thumbs up. Since it's decided, let's put this matter aside for now. I have something to ask you. The main character, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke. The moment he opened his mouth, he attracted everyone's attention. They all looked at him with fear. This person was Ria's brother, Sazax Gimli. What happened between you and Seraph? Why is it that whenever she mentions you, she can't wait to tear you into pieces? Sazax was deeply puzzled. Why would a great demon king be apprehensive of a little brat? He really did not understand. So it's this stupid matter. Dustless came to a realization. After he defeated Seraph that day, only a few people knew the truth. Even Ria's family did not know the inside story. It's just a small personal issue. It's just a trivial matter. There's no need for everyone to pay attention to it. Dustless didn't care at all. He said with a straight face, "That woman is crazy. I don't want her sister. She insisted on pushing her into my arms." Poochie. Ria's spat out all the juice that had just entered her lungs. She looked at Dustless in disbelief. She never thought that there would be such a shameless person in the world. Ria's was right in front of Dustless. Who would have thought that he would say that out loud? This bastard. He was the one who used force to oppress Kangna and Seraph. In the end, he forcefully took Seraph's virginity. How long has it been? Why has the version changed? Ria's head was dizzy. She now had a clearer understanding of how thick-skinned Dustless was. This is normal. Hearing this, Sarzax was calm. He maintained his rationality and calmness. He looked at Dustless and said, "The demon realm is a place where benefits are highly valued. A powerhouse can bring countless benefits. If I were Seraph, I would definitely betroth my sister to you. No matter what happens in the end, there's no loss." Riaz lowered her head embarrassedly. Her face was red, and she showed a rare shy expression. This world was so cruel. It only cared about the size of one's fist. If you were strong enough or had potential, there would naturally be endless benefits. Just like Riaz and Hyodo Issei in the original work. If he did not have a divine artifact in hand, would Riaz look at him differently? The answer was obviously no. The dinner continued. The atmosphere was much more pleasant than before. At least there were people talking. After about an hour, the luxurious dinner finally ended. It's so boring to sleep alone in such a big place. I'm starting to doubt Junai's house. Lying on the soft and delicate sponge, Dustless, who had nothing to do, looked out of the window in a daze. The long night must not pass like this. His eyes suddenly spun. Just as he was about to use his eye power to release a Monoshima out to play, an uninvited guest suddenly came to disturb him. Creak! A faint light shone in through the gap of the door. The door was not completely pushed open. There was only a small gap, and a purple eye could be seen sweeping around like a thief. Finally, the eye stopped on the bed, and a victorious smile appeared on her face. Quietly observing the tall shadow reflected on the ground, Dustless frowned and asked himself without thinking, could it be Gilifia coming to take revenge on me? Dustless only offended Gilifia at the moment. As for Seraphil, she probably treated Dustless as a maleficent existence. You don't learn your lesson at all. Since I'm bored, I'll tease you. Realizing that Gilifia might come looking for trouble, Dustless's dull expression disappeared in a flash, and a faint look of anticipation appeared on his face. Creak! The weak gap was completely pushed open, revealing a graceful figure. The sudden visitor was wearing white lace pajamas. Her aura and taste were worlds apart from Gilifia's. Gilifia has silver hair. Dustless was confused. Looking over, he was stunned when he saw who it was. Riaz's mother, Venerana. Chapter 1298. For some reason, Venerana was wearing pajamas, but in Dustless's eyes, it was clear as if it was transparent. Every part of Venerana's body was clearly exposed to his eyes. What are you doing here in the middle of the night? Dustless raised his eyebrows as he thought about Venerana's intentions. Without a doubt, Riaz's mother was very impatient and very smart. Dustless's domineering attitude made it impossible for her to be hypnotized. There must be some kind of secret. Ahem. Sensing the strange atmosphere, Dustless had to speak up. You're not asleep? Venerana was stunned and a little surprised. I was going to pee, but I didn't expect to run into you. May I know why you're here in the middle of the night? Dustless gave a lame excuse. Venerana wanted to say something, but stopped. Sneaking into her future son-in-law's place in the middle of the night, no matter what the reason, especially when Venerana was wearing simple pajamas. If someone saw her, the consequences would be unimaginable. Clenching her teeth, Venerana said with determination, I hope you can make me stronger. I'm willing to give up everything. Everything? Hearing this, Dustless's eyes flashed with realization. He finally understood why she was wearing simple pajamas and this kind of transparent one. Venerana sacrificed her body to feed the hungry wolf. Tell me your intentions first. Glancing at Venerana, Dustless was not as anxious as expected. His tone was as calm as water, without any fluctuations. Although he did not mind giving Venerana powerful strength, he had to at least understand the process. It's very simple. I hate the current family. Venerana showed an annoyed and even hateful expression. Her fists were clenched tightly. Are you talking about the Gimli family? I see that you're living quite comfortably now. Dustless said with a hidden meaning. Venerana's eldest son, Sazax, was one of the demon kings. Her daughter, Riaz, was also a proud child, and she also had a grandson. He really could not see why Venerana was dissatisfied. That's a bit far-fetched. Hearing this, Venerana smiled sadly and said with a bitter tone, "In the Great War several hundred years ago, the demon realm suffered an unprecedented blow. The battle between the three factions caused large-scale destruction. Countless pure-blooded demons fell in that war, and pure-blooded superior demons were even rarer. At that time, as one of the members of the Bar family, I was forced to marry into the Gimli family to ensure their bloodline." "I see." Hearing this, Dustless revealed a look of understanding and guessed, "What do you want to borrow my power for? Destroy the current house of Gimli? That's not it." Venelana shook her head decisively and sat beside Dustless. She looked at him affectionately and said, "I just want to obtain the power to control my own destiny. Although my son, Syzax, is one of the demon kings, I believe that there are people in this world who are stronger than him. In the words of you humans, this is called preparing for a rainy day. For this, I can give up everything." Venelana took the initiative to get close to Dustless's face. After blowing a mouthful of hot air, she looked at the lower part of Dustless's body. "Didn't you just say that you want to pee?" Venelana suddenly changed the topic. Her smile was a bit strange. Yes, yes," Dustless answered with a bit of sadness. It would have been better if she didn't ask, but when Venelana said that, he really did have the urge to pee, and it was a bit uncomfortable holding it in. "Then you can start now," Venelana suddenly said. "Are you kidding me? This is the bedroom. How can I just pee in a place like this?" Dustless said with a dark face. He always felt that this mentally retarded woman was playing with him. Staring at her rosy little face, Dustless was stunned by her next action. "I'm talking about here," Venelana said with a smile after blowing out a mouthful of hot air. Her white fingers pointed at her mouth. The meaning was self-evident. "In my mouth?" Hearing this, Dustless's eyes instantly turned red. Looking at Venelana, who turned into a fairy, his breathing became heavy. The chakra and Ryatsu in his body began to go berserk. He was about to explode. "In order to get my power, is it worth sacrificing so much?" At the critical moment, Dustless calmed down. Looking at Venelana's dark red lips, he felt that he was about to melt. "No, demons don't have any concept of chastity. Maybe this kind of thing is something they're used to." Shaking his head, thinking about the female demons he met, Dustless's inner barrier also disappeared. Female demons didn't care about worldly concepts like humans. The demon world was like Europe in the Middle Ages. As long as you were strong enough, you could sit on countless partners, and you could choose any beauty you want. It was the same for females. No matter if they were male or female, there were countless secret lovers behind them. Of course, whether this red apricot could be hooked out of the wall, it depended on the individual's factors, and Dustless was undoubtedly able to do this. "I'm already like this. Are you not willing?" Venelana's tone was filled with resentment. Like a little wife who was bullied, her tone was coquettish. Dustless's body was half melted. "Do I look like the kind of person who would take advantage of a burning house?" Dustless was speechless. He always felt that he was taking advantage of someone when they were in trouble. "This is normal. Every powerful man has countless women behind them. My husband was like this when he was young." Venelana replied calmly. Absolute power could change everything. Also, Rias's mother, Venelana, simply lay in Dustless's arms, holding onto his neck and asked, "Don't you want to experience the feeling of having a mother and daughter all by yourself?" Bang, bang, bang. Dustless's heart was beating rapidly. An unprecedented big problem was placed in front of him. Be a beast, or be worse than a beast? It was really hard to choose. This was a big problem. Chapter 1299. Dustless's heart was in a dilemma. This question seemed to be extremely difficult to choose. It would be difficult to deal with someone like a marine admiral or a village kage. Allah, Allah, Allah. Every man has this kind of dream. You should have it too. Venelana giggled. Her body was fragrant and her skin was white and beautiful. She looked like a vixen. Ahem, I'm a man with principles. Dustless took the initiative to start a conversation with Venelana. He shook his head like a rattledrum. He did have this kind of thought before. but recently Rias treated him well and cared for him. If Rias knew about this in the future, Dustless was really afraid that she would be sad. Could it be that you are? Venelana's eyes were filled with suspicion. After examining Dustless for a few seconds, she said strangely, "It shouldn't be. Or are you?" Speaking of this, Venelana showed a shocked expression. She pointed at Dustless in shock and said, "Or, are you gay? Or you can't do that. If that's the case, I can't marry Rias to you." "I'm not gay. My sexual orientation is normal." Dustless's old face was twitching. He looked at Venelana angrily and said with a smile, "Since you doubt me, then experience it for yourself." After saying that, Dustless violently grabbed Venelana's neck. With a little force, she couldn't help but cough. Her little face was red. What you doing?" Venelana asked in a shocked tone. She didn't wear much. It was just a nightgown, and it was transparent white. The high frequency of shaking made Dustless feast his eyes. I need to pee, so I'll use your mouth as a toilet. You said before that you would be my toilet for free. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I can't let it go. I'll fulfill your tiny wish. No need to thank me." With a sneer, Wu Chen's arm, which was as thin as a willow branch, exploded with an explosive force. He pressed Riaz's mother, Venerana, tightly onto the ground, forcing her head to maintain the same height as his lower body. This guy is indeed not an ordinary person. It was right to rely on him. Feeling the power contained in Dustless's single hand, Venelana was secretly shocked. Her heart was like a huge wave rolling up into the sky. Everything she said before was to trick Dustless and test his strength. If he couldn't do it, she naturally wouldn't lose herself to Dustless. There are no fluctuations of magic power. Is it just pure strength? Feeling the hand grabbing her head, Venelana confirmed it again and panted like a cow. Why was Suzuka so outstanding? To a certain extent, he had inherited Venelana's bloodline, or the destructive magic of the Ball family that she belonged to. However, Venelana had exhausted all the magic in her body, but she could not resist Dustless's brutal rule. The most shocking thing was that Venerana did not feel the slightest bit of magic power, not even a drop. In other words, Dustless had subdued her with brute force. "Is he really human?" Venelana said in disbelief. This kind of absolute power definitely did not belong to a human. At the same time, Dustless was not a demon, a fallen angel, or an angel. Could it be that he is some god or some unknown demon king? Maybe he is a dragon that can turn into a human with a jump. Only the legendary dragons have such great strength without using magic power. Venelana secretly guessed. Although this idea was a little strange, at least she felt that everything was possible. At the same time, she felt her mouth being pried open. Dustless glanced indifferently at Riaz's mother, Venelana, and said leisurely, "Thank you for your hospitality." Time passed quickly. After spending most of the night with Venelana, Dustless was so tired that he fell asleep. Venelana, who was whipped full of holes by Dustless, did not leave. She decided to spend the night beside Dustless. It was not that she did not want to leave, but Dustless made her too weak. Plus, her pajamas were torn into countless pieces. She could not go out naked. The morning sun was mighty, and the warm light shone on people's faces. The young man subconsciously rubbed his eyes. It's already past 10 o'clock. Seriously. Dustless stretched his waist lazily, and there was a crisp sound of bones cracking. "Will Lise kill me if she finds out?" He turned his head and looked at Venelana's sleeping face. Her expression was calm and peaceful. There was still a blush on both sides of her face that had not yet faded. Her two arms were tightly hugging Dustless's arm, afraid that she would slip away. With a heavy sigh, Dustless leaned back on the bed, thinking about how things had turned out to be like this. Although Dustless felt guilty towards Riaz, he did not know why he did not regret it at all. Instead, he felt very excited. How can I make her stronger? Hogyoku doesn't seem to work. For a weak creature like a demon, the Hogyoku will explode. Since he had taken Riaz's mother Venelana, Dustless had to be responsible. At least, he had to make her stronger. I can let her eat the devil fruit. Dustless's eyes flashed, and he thought that this plan was feasible. He used to collect a lot of devil fruits in the One Piece world, and there were still a lot of them in the system that had not been eaten. He could also give them to Rias and the others. What's the matter? Wu Chan frowned as he felt the warm air coming from behind him. Suddenly, the quilt moved. He turned his head and saw Rias' mother, Venerana, looking at him with a smile. What should I call you now? Shinkuin? Cute son-in-law? Or? Venerana pursed her lips and smiled without saying anything. Dustless also smelled the scent of conspiracy. Chapter 1300. When Venerana chose to show herself, Dustless knew that other than her strength, she had some kind of secret that could not be told. Dustless did not think that his charm would be enough to make Venerana fall head over heels for him. Knock, knock, knock. There was a hurried knock on the door, and a familiar voice sounded. Are you still not awake? The sun is almost up. Is this Rias? Dustless and Venerana looked at each other and saw the panic in each other's eyes. Although he really wanted to test this mother and daughter pair, it was not the right time yet. You hide first. Venerana hurriedly put on her clothes. This was also because Rias had found out that she was having an affair with her future husband. Venerana shuddered at the thought of it. She looked around and searched for her clothes at the fastest speed in her life. However, Venerana sadly discovered that her pajamas had long been torn into pieces by Dustless's beastly nature. Hide me? Is there something wrong with your head? This is my bedroom, and the one hiding is also you, Dustless said with a dark face. Just as he was about to let Venerana hide under the bed, he heard a creak. Rias had already pushed the door open, and there was a small gap. I'm coming in, Dustless. Pushing the door open completely, Rias smiled and walked in elegantly. There seems to be a special smell. Rias frowned and looked suspiciously at Dustless, who was embarrassed. After sniffing the air twice, Rias's eyes became serious, and she said with certainty, It seems to be the smell of a woman, and it's very familiar. It's mother. Puffed. Dustless's face darkened, and he said sternly, Don't talk nonsense. Do I look like that kind of person? I'm just joking. Even if you are, mother isn't. Rias's face broke into a smile as she pursed her lips. After saying that, Rias glanced under Wu Chen's bed and scanned the surroundings from the corner of her eyes. She felt relieved when she sensed the dead silence around her. Bullsh asterisk T. She's the one who came to meet me. Dustless complained in his mind, but he asked casually, Is it time to go back? Class is the day after tomorrow. Rias sat beside Dustless. I was hoping that someone would train Ichij and increase his strength. Who knew? Sigh. Dustless did not say anything, but he laughed in his mind. How could Ichij have any motivation? His harem was all taken care of by him, and now he was gloriously upgraded to a commander without an army. After breakfast, Dustless and some people from the Paranormal Research Department went to the territory of the Gimli family. The group chatted and laughed, and they hurried back in the evening. Lady Rias, dinner is ready. Inside the brightly lit, luxurious villa, Gilifia's signature working tone could be heard. Lady Venerana and Junai frowned when she noticed that Rias's parents and brother were absent from the dinner. Sazax and the others are very busy. Please forgive us for not being able to entertain you during the dinner. Gilifia bowed and apologized. Her every move was professionally trained, and her expression was meticulous. Phew! Brother Chung let out a sigh of relief and sat down. He looked at the dazzling array of dishes and wiped his hands, drooling. He was starving after a day of wandering. That's boring. Hearing that, Dustless crossed his legs. He had thought of many new positions to test with Venerana, but the female lead was missing, and looking at Gilifia's serious expression, it was doubtful that she would even come back at night. Please enjoy, I still have something to do, goodbye. Seeing that Dustless and the rest were all seated, Gilifia bowed again elegantly and left the dining room. Rias, my stomach is not feeling well. I ate too much during the day, so I'm going to take a rest, Dustless said tiredly with a pained expression. Too much. Rias smiled and wave her hand helplessly. Got it. Go get some rest. Sleep early and wake up early. We have to go back to Horse King Academy tomorrow. Senpai, you ate too much? A doubtful voice came, and the naturally naive kitten's expression changed to one of disbelief. Junai and Aisha also looked at Dustless in shock. As for Issei, he was wolfing down his food and ignoring Dustless. Brother Chung hated this person who ruined his harem dreams. It was no wonder that they were suspicious. Dustless only ate a small amount of food when they went out to play today. These guys are too troublesome. Dustless could only admit defeat. I'm not used to this place, and my stomach has been hurting for the whole day. I also ate something with a strong oily taste, and now I feel nauseous. You guys don't want me to pee and pee everywhere, right? Leave now, everyone said with disdain. Thud, thud, thud. Messy footsteps came from the corridor. Gilifia, in her maid outfit, was no longer as sacred and inviolable as before. She turned into a stream of light and pounced forward with a serious expression. Ms. Gilifia, you seem to be in a hurry. Where do you want to go? I'll take you there. Just as she was about to rush out of the mansion, a flash of light blocked the corridor. Dustless, Gilifia's beautiful eyes were dazed, and she subconsciously pulled her legs back. Am I that scary? Dustless started to think about his image. He suddenly realized that the most powerful queen of the underworld and the demon Queen Seraphil, who was the Leviathan, had the same expression when they saw him. It was as if they had seen the legendary dragon. No, they were even more terrified than seeing the legendary dragon. Chapter 1301. Wu Chun was depressed in his heart. He had bitter water, but couldn't pour it out. When did I become such a scum that people ran away from? Gilifia gritted her teeth, cursing her bad luck. She was even more conflicted than Dustless. You don't have to hide from me. I'm not as scary as you think. Dustless rubbed his nose awkwardly, showing a rare gentleness. Gilifia looked up and saw through Dustless's heart. Perhaps she sensed his deeper meaning, or perhaps it was because the situation was urgent. She said in a heavy tone, Many of Gemengli's territories have been attacked by mysterious people. Sazax and the others are rushing to help. Attacking Gemengli's territories? Which god or demon king is leading the attack? Their courage is astonishing. Dustless was surprised, but at the same time, he was also curious about the identity of the mysterious people. Although Sazax was known as the Demon King, his true strength was beyond that. Dustless really wanted to meet someone who dared to sneak up on a tiger and kick its butt. I'm not sure. There are many of them. It seems to be a special organization. Gilifia smiled bitterly inside. Her eyes dimmed a little, indicating that she was not sure either. Could it be the Calamity Group? Wu Chen's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but think of this special organization, which gathered all kinds of powerful terrorists, such as White Dragon Emperor Wally and many people of the old Devil King faction, including Chow Chow of the Hero faction in the future, all belonged to this organization. In short, the Calamity Group gathered people from all walks of life. There were all kinds of people in the organization. It was very chaotic. At the same time, it was undeniable that this organization was very powerful. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening roar was heard. The magic power was unfathomable. Wherever the vibrating ripples spread, the living beings wailed. TSK, TSK. Although I don't know much about magic power, someone who can produce such destructive waves should be quite powerful. I haven't exercised for a long time. Now that they've come to me, I'm really grateful. Although he had been enjoying the fragrance of women recently, pursuing battle was Dustless's greatest pleasure and hobby. Let's go and have a look. Dustless smiled and disappeared in a flash. His body turned into a golden streamer and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Gilifia was startled. She thought that her old eyes were blurred, and she didn't see Wu Chun suddenly disappear. With the speed of light, any creature that wanted to spy on them would feel pressured. Black Song, even if Sazax has been lured out, there are still many powerful beings in his family. His queen, Gilifia, is no pushover, the armored middle-aged man said with a frown. He was quite dissatisfied with the black-haired, cat-eared woman in front of him. Beautiful monkey, Isn't challenging the strong your hobby? Are you afraid now? The woman called Hey Gu turned her head and sneered. You're afraid of a woman? To think that you're the descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha. If you're so scared, then hurry up and go home to carry on your ancestral line. Don't wander around outside. I'm just being conservative. Don't forget our mission. Try to cause as much damage as possible. I heard from Wally that the three major forces are showing signs of forming an alliance. Our current mission is to stir up as much unrest as possible in the demon realm, not to pursue meaningless duels. Although I'm passionate about battle, we still have to make clear our priorities. Beautiful Monkey didn't think much of it. He knew that this was Hei Ge's provocation. Her goal was to have him attract the firepower of the Gimli family, and then Hei Gu herself would go and save her sister, Deshang Bain. Is this a trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain? It sounds like a perfect plan. Unfortunately, the heavens are not on my side. I heard your plan. A ghostly voice emerged from the bottom of their hearts without warning. They immediately retreated on reflex. Who is it? Get out here. Beautiful Monkey looked around and gripped the Jingu Bang tightly in his hand. He stared coldly at the abandoned dark corner on the left. Thud, thud, thud. A handsome young man walked out of the darkness. Are the two of you all right? Dustless smiled and waved his hand. Are they all right? For some reason, Beautiful Monkey felt humiliated when he heard this sentence. He was frightened by this ghostly voice just now. It was like a ghost suddenly appeared behind you and greeted you. Who could be all right? Who are you? Deshang Hei Gu lowered her chin and asked curiously. Who knows? The name is not important. Dustless shook his head. He thought of the past and gave an ambiguous answer. In the past, I brought hope to some people and was worshipped like a god. At the same time, I destroyed their world and was feared like a ghost by others. The number of names and titles given to me by the people of the world is as numerous as the carps in the river. Dustless's eyes were blank. His tone was filled with vicissitudes. His turbid eyes were used to seeing the vicissitudes of life. He had once cared about the dominance of the world. He had once obtained it and even destroyed it. He had experienced several hundred years of ups and downs. Now that he was all alone and roaming the universe alone, he realized that this was the happiest and most enjoyable life. Frowning, Dustless recovered from the river of memories. Suddenly, his shoulder felt sore. He opened his eyes and saw that the clothes on his left shoulder had already been torn apart. His right arm was exposed to the air. What's going on? I was fine just now. Dustless muttered to himself. He was lost in his memories and didn't notice the changes in his surroundings. The beautiful monkey's mouth was wide open, so wide that a large rock could be stuffed in. Black Song, who had been standing beside him for a long time, also had her beautiful eyes wide open. You idiot! At this time, a burst of angry curses came. Dustless turned around and saw that it was Gilifia. That man who looks like a monkey, didn't you get hit by a stick? Gilifia's mouth twitched. This guy was hit by a stick and didn't even know what happened. Shit, who hit me with a stick? Wu Chen reacted and scolded loudly. Just now, he only felt that his shoulder was sore. Who would have thought that someone would sneak an attack on him? Chapter 1302. Dustless was infuriated by Gilifia's stare. He was so angry that he subconsciously sank into his memories. Who would have thought that someone would dare to ambush him? Even if you did, you should have used more force so that I wouldn't notice. Monkey, did you go easy on me? Black Song of Taching approached the pale-faced monkey and asked. Although I didn't use my full strength, the force just now was enough to shatter a mountain. Monkey took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He looked at Dustless in shock and guessed, is this guy's body made of meteorites and diamonds? Quietly sizing up Dustless's white and flawless skin, Monkey nodded in agreement. It was as white as diamonds and even glowed. Let's retreat for now. That silver-haired woman is not to be trifled with. Taking a deep look at Gilifia, the beautiful monkey then glanced at Dustless, who had a faint smile on his face as if he was sizing up a mouse. Although he was unhappy, he still chose to retreat. The mission was the most important thing, and personal grudges should be put aside first. Let's retreat. Black Song of Tachin glanced at the castle in the distance, his bright eyes dimming. You want to leave after beating me up? With a flash of light, Dustless appeared behind Monkey. However, this guy seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. Without even looking, he swung his staff at Monkey. Bam! Dustless's body was instantly scattered into a large number of photons. That's all there is to it. As long as I take it seriously, what are you so proud of? The photons that were wandering around recovered and recondensed into Dustless's body. His face was full of anger. Just now, it was almost the same as the soreness in my shoulder. It was indeed you who sneaked an attack on me. Gilifia giggled, cursing Dustless for not being serious. At the same time, she was shocked by his strength. He's neither a fallen angel, nor a demon, nor an angel. His body doesn't seem to have any magic waves, so he should be a human. But what's with his body structure? How can a human become so strong? You're courting death. The beautiful Monkey flew into a rage. His body erupted with astonishing strength as he leapt up. Gilifia, I'll leave that cat-eared girl to you. Don't hurt her. Gilifia was stunned. Dustless's voice suddenly rang in her mind. So many strange abilities. Gilifia sighed, with a complicated look in her eyes. She didn't know whether to rejoice or regret her relationship with Dustless. Boom, boom, boom. Gilifia's mana went berserk and chose to do as Dustless wished. Brat, you have angered me. You must pay the price for your arrogance. The beautiful Monkey floated in the air. He stood on a cloud and stared down at Dustless with an arrogant look in his eyes. It had to be said that as the descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha, the beautiful Monkey did have the right to be proud. The only sad and pitiful thing was that the person he was courting death against this time was also a fiendish person. BZZ. The golden hooped cudgel in the Monkey's hand rapidly enlarged, from the original cudgel to an exaggerated heaven-supporting divine pillar. It was thousands of times larger than before. He swung it around, and wherever the enlarged golden-hooped cudgel swept past, ripples would appear in the void. It was as if as long as the Monkey waved it gently, the mountain would collapse. How sad. Glancing at the beautiful Monkey, Dustless's interest waned. He wasn't on the same level as the Monkey at all. He had no interest in fighting. Dow Breakers 90, Black Coffin. Deep in the clouds, countless black lights poured down. The curved black lights were like the bright moon, sparkling and translucent. The beautiful Monkey didn't feel anything. He looked down at Dustless arrogantly and continued to enlarge the Jingu Bang in his hand. He was so angry that he wanted to smash Dustless into meat paste to vent his anger. Up there, silly child. Pointing at the pure black wind blade in the sky, Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy had probably never experienced failure before. That was why he was so arrogant. Up there, the beautiful Monkey subconsciously looked at the sky. The black light filled with the afterglow of death frightened him. He quickly controlled the enlarged Jingu Bang to smash the top of his head. Bang, bang, bang. Although he shattered many blade attacks at the first moment and avoided the shadow of death, the beautiful Monkey's Jingu Bang was also in a miserable state. There were a lot of messy blade marks on it. His body was also bleeding profusely, and there were several ghastly cracks on his body. The enlarged version of the golden cudgel had indeed saved his life, but it was inevitable that some fish would slip through the net. The beautiful Monkey himself had also suffered a heavy blow. How could it be? How could it be? How could it be? This guy almost killed me without even moving his hand. The beautiful Monkey's eyes were dull. If it wasn't for the stinging pain from his wounds that made him want to die, he might have thought that it was an illusion that some bastard used on him. Bang! After suffering such a heavy blow, the somersault cloud under his feet was difficult to control. The beautiful Monkey was sweating profusely. He finally fell down without any strength. Your body is very strong. Otherwise, you would have been cut into monkey meat. Dustless laughed in a teasing tone. Who are you? Which god descendant are you? The infinite dragon god Orpheus or the real red dragon god Emperor? The beautiful monkey asked in a rare, gossipy manner. Although his thoughts were strange, he felt that it was very possible after witnessing Dustless's unprecedented strength. As the descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha, he was killed in one hit and was on the verge of death. If it wasn't for his thick skin, he would have been kicked out of the game and reported to the underworld. I am a human, and I don't belong to any faction. If I have to find a name, it would be Dustless. Stopping his steps, Dustless replied indifferently and walked towards the beautiful monkey again. Chapter 1303. The monkey's head was burning, and cold sweat dripped down like raindrops. He wanted to wave the Jingu staff again, but his injuries forced him to accept a cruel reality. Even if the enemy was on his last breath and could die with a poke, he did not have the strength to execute Dustless's death sentence. This is a joke, right? We haven't even started fighting. How did it end over there? Touching Hage glanced in the direction where Dustless and the monkey were fighting and complained angrily, "Monkey, if you want to slack off, just say so." This was too fake. He was KO'd as soon as he entered the battlefield. Fake? Why don't you try? The beautiful monkey's heart was bleeding. He looked at Dustless, who was just inches away from him, and his heart was filled with despair. He originally thought that Gilifia and Demon King Sizax were Jaimin's trump cards. Who would have thought that this great god of death was still hiding in the dark? You're not a beautiful woman, nor are you someone with outstanding strength. You have no value to me. Dustless glanced at the struggling monkey with pity. He squatted down and looked at the monkey. How about you give me a reason not to kill you? I don't need your pity. You can't kill me if you want to. He did not know where the strength came from. Maybe it was because of the explosion of his little universe, or maybe it was because he was unwilling to die. The monkey stood up again miraculously. Our race is known as the strongest battle race. The monkey raised his head like a proud warrior. He regained his arrogant aura. Even if he died, he would die standing. Fighting is not good. Why don't we sit down and talk? I have a question for you. Dustless withdrew the energy fluctuations that overflowed from his body, and he returned to his calm and collected appearance. Huff! The endless majesty that shrouded his entire body disappeared. The beautiful monkey hurriedly fought to be the first to take a deep breath. He was afraid that Wu Chun would erupt with that earth-shattering aura again. Facing the serious Wu Chun, sometimes it was difficult for him to even breathe. Is the red dragon god Emperor, you're talking about the strongest dragon DXD that lives in the dimensional crevice? There's also another one called Great Red? Dustless asked curiously as vague information about Great Red surfaced in his mind. What do you want? Hearing this, the beautiful monkey frowned and stared at Dustless. Noticing his interested expression, an absurd idea popped up in his mind. This guy definitely isn't curious about the real Red Dragon Emperor. He's probably as crazy as Wally. He wants to defeat the invincible DXD. Beautiful monkey exclaimed in his heart, sighing that there was still a lunatic like Wally in the world. However, who would have thought that Dustless's next sentence would make him feel like he was about to explode? I hate walking, so I need a mode of transportation. That dragon called God Emperor True Red Dragon. I think he will be suitable. Dustless stated his purpose seriously. His tone was very calm. It was not difficult to tell that he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. After a few seconds of eerie silence, the beautiful monkey suddenly screamed, This is definitely a lunatic that's even weirder than Wally. His thoughts and worldview were completely destroyed. Even his voice was stuttering. Forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything. Look at you, you don't know anything. Glancing at the petrified, beautiful monkey, Dustless realized that he had asked the wrong person. Scram, don't let me see you. Dustless waved his hand and walked toward the area of Tower City where Heigu and Gilifia were fighting. What did you say? Hearing this, the beautiful monkey's face turned purple as he gripped the Jingu bang tightly. All the muscles on his body bulged. He felt greatly insulted. Since when did someone dare to speak to him like this? Even if I die, I'll take you down with me. The beautiful monkey said, filled with hatred and determination. He didn't hesitate to enlarge the Jingu Bang. When it became as thick as a house, he waved it with all his might. Just as he was planning to smash Dustless to death, a cold voice suddenly exploded in his mind. Do you think you're still alive because of your strength and hard work? What a naive monkey. You're still alive because of my mercy. Otherwise, a half-baked like you would have been killed by me long ago. I've only let you move around for so long because I've been too bored lately. A long string of words echoed in his mind for a long time. The beautiful monkey looked at the disappearing figure in a daze and lowered his head in despair. Is the end of the world coming? No. Suddenly thinking of something, the beautiful monkey shouted in his heart. Orpheus can change her body at will. I heard that she used to be an old man. This guy might be DXD's original body that was too bored and came out to seek death. The beautiful monkey immediately displayed his strange thinking. He suddenly felt that his loss was not shameful. After all, he was the real divine emperor, Crimson Dragon. Ah, you're not done yet? An untimely, ear-piercing voice suddenly rang out. Parting the dense leaves, Dustless looked at Gilifia and Brother Hay, who were in a tense standoff. This time, he began to criticize Gilifia. You haven't dealt with her yet? Are you waterproof, Gilifia? Gilifia snorted and didn't say anything. Where's the beautiful monkey? Sensing that the beautiful monkey's presence had disappeared, Hey Ge's expression changed. He suddenly had a bad feeling. If you don't save him, he might die in a few minutes. Being attacked by Dowbreaker 90 is no small matter. Dustless sat on the grass calmly, as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. But it seems like you don't have a chance to save everyone. There's a female demon in front of you, and behind you. Who are you calling a female demon, you bastard? Gilifia was so angry that her silver hair stood on end. Chapter 1304. Gilifia was trembling all over. If she could, she wanted to pounce on Dustless and strangle him to death. That bastard's mouth didn't hold back at all, and that half-smile was definitely on purpose. Oh, sorry, Gilifia, it was a slip of the tongue. I still have things to do, so I'm going back to sleep. I'll leave tomorrow. That exercise just now really felt good. Wu Chun moaned comfortably to the sky. Then, he turned around and left without saying goodbye. Where's the monkey? Heigo asked. Thinking back to the energy ripple that oppressed the sky, she was already prepared to collect the monkey's corpse. Dustless retracted his step and said calmly, he won't die for now, but even the gods won't be able to save him in a while. Then why didn't you take care of him? The monkey is the descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha. If you don't take care of him now, he'll be a huge problem in the future. Gilifia scolded and suddenly changed directions, as if she wanted to finish off the monkey for Dustless. Take care of him? There's no need for that. If he can grow to my level one day, I'll even burn incense and pray to the heavens for mercy. Dustless's words left Gilifia and Taching Heigo dumbfounded. You want to nurture an enemy to kill you? Gilifia asked in shock. She cursed the lunatic in her mind and warned seriously. That's nurturing the enemy. As Riaz's, sorry, but I'm not Riaz's kin. Dustless words made Gilifia speechless. She could only stare. Dustless wasn't Riaz's kin, so he didn't have to listen to the Gimli family's orders. In any case, let them go. Dustless took a deep look at Gilifia, then swaggered off. You think I'll let them go just because you said so? What a joke. Like you said, I'm not your kin, so I don't have to listen to your orders. Gilifia retorted sarcastically as her demonic energy surged. These people were related to the future of the Fiend realm, and, as the wife of the Demon King, she could not let them go. Hee, so you don't agree? That's fine too. I'll go tell Sazax right now. I believe he'll definitely. You win? Gilifia rushed to Dustless's side like a gust of wind, glaring at him with her gem-like eyes. If it weren't for the fact that Dustless's strength was unfathomable, and that she knew that she wouldn't be able to shake him even if she went all out, she would have definitely fought without any regard for her life. Her name is Taching Hege. She is Kitten's older sister. Without further explanation, Dustless said as he walked, "She's my teammate's sister, and she's not a bad person. You want me to kill her? Sorry, I really can't do it." "Are you sure?" Gilifia asked suspiciously. She always felt that Dustless had a tool that could foresee the future, as if he knew everything. "I don't think that's the only reason." Glaring at Dustless, Gilifia said meaningfully, "They're sisters, and they're both quite pretty. Don't you want them for yourself?" Hearing that, Dustless frowned and shook his head. He said decisively, "There are as many beautiful women in this world as there are grains of sand in the Ganges. If I like any one of them, I'll have to change my kidneys sooner or later." Despite his words, Dustless's heart was itching. He and Kitten had been in the same environment for a long time, and even if they didn't have a so-called emotional foundation, they would develop feelings for each other over time. Moreover, Dustless had always been sympathetic to the sisters, and he was just fooling Gilifia. Otherwise, he would have been called the peerless sex demon, or godly worker king who defeated Huta Issei. At the same time, in another direction. "Monkey, how do you feel?" Dashang Hego looked at the shocking wounds on Monkey's body and couldn't help but feel a chill. Some of the wounds on his abdomen could even see his internal organs, and his intestines were almost falling out. She quickly found a bandage to wrap Monkey's wounds to prevent blood from flowing out. "How do you feel?" "I saw the Grim Reaper." Monkey smiled bitterly. The confidence he had accumulated over the years had completely collapsed. "Idiot, if you can hold on for a while and wait for Wally to come, you can definitely hold on for a while. Don't you think your back hurts when you talk while sitting?" Monkey angrily interrupted Dashang Heji's speech and angrily scolded, "If it wasn't for that man's long-winded nonsense, my fight with him would have ended in 5 seconds. No, 1 second. In reality, it ended in about 1 second. During that time, Dustless was talking nonsense and asking Monkey God Emperor Jun Red Dragon's location. "Oh, he's very strong?" A strange magic formation suddenly flashed in the sky, and then a curious voice came from it. A mysterious figure in silver armor appeared. "You're injured quite badly, Monkey." His tone fluctuated and became more serious. Then, the armor on his body disappeared, revealing a handsome silver-haired youth. "Wally, not only am I injured, he's not interested in me at all. Otherwise, I would have been dismembered." Monkey angrily punched the ground, his expression full of unwillingness. "Seems like he's very strong." Wally's eyes lit up. He was not interested in anything. His greatest joy was fighting and defeating Jun Red Dragon God Emperor. Then what's his purpose? What's his name? Wally wanted to know more about Dustless and continued to ask. "To be able to defeat you so easily, he must be a world-famous figure. I think he's called Dustless. He's a human. His purpose?" He said that he wanted to capture Jun Red Dragon God Emperor as a tool. Chapter 1305. Hearing this strange idea, Wally, who rarely had any emotional fluctuations, was stunned. Then he felt a stinging pain on his old face as he realized that Dustless was deliberately going against him. "My life's goal is to defeat the real God Emperor Qilong, the Great Red DXD. Yet, that brat who appeared out of nowhere actually wants to capture the real God Emperor Qilong to be his mount. Doesn't that mean that I'm only worthy of fighting against his mount?" Wally's mouth twitched and turned constipated. This was equivalent to slapping him in the face. "That guy seems to be Lee's Gimmenry's fiancé," Taching Hage added. "Lee's Gimmenry's fiancé? The heavens have been kind to me. I heard that my old enemy, Qilong Divine Emperor Hyodo Issei, is Lee's Gimmenry's relative. When the time comes, I'll wipe them all out." Wally's eyes were cold. Regardless of the beautiful monkey's injuries or the fact that Dustless had slapped him in the face, he had to get back at them. The next morning, Lees and Dustless left the underworld and were on their way to Colt King Academy. Although the sudden commotion yesterday had brought a lot of trouble to the underworld, it was the kind that was dispensable and had almost no effect. After all, The current demon King Syzax, as well as Seraphil and the others, were not incompetent. Inside the Supernatural Research Department of Colt King Academy. Master, please enjoy. Dustless was sleeping comfortably on the sofa. LaBelle Phoenix was wearing a black maid outfit. Her blonde hair was lying quietly on her waist. She did not move at all. She was very standard. Not bad. Dustless nodded in satisfaction as the tea entered his stomach. His mouth was filled with sweetness, and there was an endless aftertaste. Dustless was a freak in the Supernatural Research Department. Most people drank coffee. Only Dustless liked this kind of tea that was bitter before sweet. It had unknowingly become a habit. You should have received the news. Putting the tea set on the table, Dustless turned to look at LaBelle and said bluntly, "The Phoenix family agreed to betroth you to me a few days ago." LaBelle nodded and did not feel too much about it. Even without this sudden engagement, she knew that she would be Dustless's plaything for the rest of her life. LaBelle did not reject the idea too much. Descendants of large families like hers were usually sacrificed in marriages, such as Riaz's marriage to her brother. Dustless was more despicable and filthy than some of the other hedonistic sons, but he was impeccable in other aspects. At the very least, it was very safe to be with him, and he had absolute strength to protect her. Hee, it's good that you're aware. Dustless rubbed his palms and looked at LaBelle with sparkling eyes. He reached out his right arm and grabbed her. LaBelle was like a rabbit lying in Dustless's embrace. Her weak strength was negligible to Dustless. You want to do that kind of thing here? LaBelle's little face was red, and her heart was beating rapidly, as if it wanted to jump out. Why can't I? Dustless asked with a smile. He felt that it was very appropriate. Chakra rolled in his palm and vibrated slightly. LaBelle's maid outfit burst open, and her jade-like left arm was exposed. Dustless was stunned by the sight. Looks like I can only accept my fate. LaBelle smiled bitterly and closed her eyes in despair. She was the eldest daughter of a large family after all. After confirming that she had no chance of escaping from Dustless's demonic hands, not only did she not reject Dustless, she even purposely rubbed against Dustless's sensitive areas. She blinked her eyes like a blooming poppy flower. Even though she knew it was highly poisonous, she could not help but want to pluck it. The anti-terror tactic was useless. The smart LaBelle had to reconsider her relationship with Dustless. A powerful person would have countless women behind him. If she wanted to capture his heart, it would depend on LaBelle's skills. Following LaBelle's actions, the romantic atmosphere became more and more heated, and there was a faint sign that it was on fire. Huff! Dustless was panting heavily. Just as he was about to execute LaBelle on the spot, an untimely voice came. I really can't relax at all. Dustless seemed to have been electrocuted, and his movements suddenly became sluggish. Lias, is it really okay for you to be like this? Dustless turned his head to look at Lias, who had her hands on her hips and was looking down at him from above. You are my fiancé. Lias sat opposite Dustless with her legs crossed. Due to her sitting posture, he could still see the black fat too with his excellent vision. Lias, he is also my fiancé, LaBelle said angrily, purposely pulling Dustless's arm into her embrace. LaBelle, get this straight. My engagement with him comes first. There is no order in marriage. The two women fell into an intense argument. Dustless felt a headache coming on, and he decisively chose to retreat. He smiled bitterly in his heart. If the two of them knew that there were many female confidants in the system, they would not be able to have peace in the future. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Dustless's stomach growled as he did not eat breakfast yesterday and today. Let's go have a meal first. Looking at the restaurant not far away, Dustless smelled a delicious aroma from afar, and it hooked the worm in his stomach. Since he had nothing to do, he walked into the restaurant. There's so many people. Dustless, who walked into the restaurant, was shocked to find that it was almost filled with people. There was only one seat left in the far right corner, and he had no choice but to share a table. May I sit here? Dustless bowed and asked the two people wrapped in white robes. Grumble, grumble. Go ahead, one of them said while wolfing down her food. She was obviously a female, and her voice was quite pleasant. The two of them ate the food of several people. They can really eat. I think I've seen them before. Dustless stared at the girl's blue hair, and a figure suddenly appeared in his mind. Genova. Chapter 1306. Dustless carefully observed the girl who was wolfing down the food. She was not reserved at all. In fact, she ate even more crudely than he did. Even so, the girl's delicate features could not be hidden. Instead, because of the way she ate, she gave people a feeling of generosity. Really, I didn't expect to meet you in this kind of place. Dustless felt that God liked to joke around. He did not expect to meet Genova and Wisteria Rena in this kind of place. Looking at the way they ate, he could not help but chuckle. "Sir, your hamburger and cola." The waiter showed his signature smile and elegantly placed the food in front of Dustless. "Thank you." Dustless smiled and nodded. His stomach grumbled in protest. Just as he was about to stuff the hamburger into his stomach, he suddenly realized that someone was spying on him. Ahem, is there something on my face?" Genova and Wisteria Irina stared at him without blinking. Dustless's hair stood on end. "You're eating so much? It's shameful to waste food." Looking at the mountain of food in front of Dustless, Wisteria Rena pouted. At the same time, she leaned close to the dazzling array of food and sniffed it. The tip of her tongue could not help but bite her lower lip. "I see, they're still not full." Dustless showed an expression of understanding. He pushed the extra food in front of the two and made a light gesture. "If you don't mind, let's eat together." "Good boy. If someone bullies you, tell me." Wisteria Rena, who was sitting beside Dustless, patted him on the shoulder in a friendly manner. She gave Dustless a thumbs up and said, "God will bless you." "I hope so." Dustless smiled, but did not say anything. He stared at the two who were wolfing down the food. He glanced at the big sword wrapped in bandages beside Genova and asked in a roundabout way, "Where are you two going?" "I'm familiar with this town." "Chariot King Academy," Genova said as she ate. Dustless gave her a sunny and easygoing feeling. He didn't seem like a bad person, so she didn't hide anything from him. Dustless sighed inwardly. Then he volunteered with a smile, "To be honest, I am a third-year student at Chariot King Academy. If you don't mind, I can take you there." "You?" Genova and Rena stopped what they were doing and looked at each other. They could see the confusion in each other's eyes. A few seconds later, they nodded and accepted Dustless's suggestion. "All right, I'll leave it to you." Wisteria Elia smiled, and the wariness in her eyes gradually faded. She and Genova were confident in their own strength. If they were afraid of a normal human, then they should not be the holy swordsmen of the church. They should just go home and be porcelain dolls. Moreover, Wu Chun gave them a good impression. He was gentle and refined. At first glance, he gave people the feeling that he was very gentle and approachable. He didn't seem like the kind of person who would have bad intentions. "Thank you." "If it weren't for you, Genova and I would have been detained. We forgot to bring money when we went out." Rena Ilya stomped her feet. Her face was full of embarrassment. She didn't dare to look into Dustless's eyes. Her whole face was red and was very cute. If Dustless didn't pay for them, they might have been detained by the shop owner to wash dishes to atone for their sins. "Don't worry about it. It's a piece of cake." Dustless waved his hand. He could have as much money as he wanted. There was a bank near Chariot King Academy. If he didn't have money, he could just go there. "Let's go together. I'm in class anyway." Dustless smiled and shamelessly held the two girls' hands. Wisteria Irina and Genova's bodies stiffened, and an unnatural expression flashed across their faces. Just as they were about to struggle, a strange electric current suddenly spread through their bodies, and the power gathered in their arms instantly dissipated. They could only watch as Dustless left. "You still want to fight with me? I'll pay for you too. If I don't take advantage of you, then God is too unfair." Dustless laughed in his heart. He felt the delicate touch of the two girls' skin. He smiled happily and held one in each hand. It was like he was a living god. "Speaking of which, what are you two doing here at Chariot King Academy?" Dustless touched the two girls' hands discreetly as he changed the topic to distract them. "No comment." Rena, Ilya, and Genova said with a straight face when they talked about their mission. You two are very principled. Dustless praised them. In fact, even if he didn't say it, he knew about Genova and Rena, Ilya's mission. They were looking for Rias and hoping that she wouldn't interfere with the conflict between the church and the fallen angels. Their ultimate goal was to find the missing holy sword. We're here. Pointing at the school in front, Wu Chen couldn't help but loosen the two girls' little hands that slipped into the satin. We'll meet again anyway. What happened just now was good karma. Thinking about it, Wu Chen also felt relieved. This was what it meant to be fated to meet, even if they were thousands of miles apart. If you two want to find someone, you can go to the student council. Here, it's them. Dustless pointed at Song Na and Vice President Shinro Chuanji, who happened to pass by. Then, he left without caring about the two's strange looks. Rena, Ilya, why do I feel like this guy is weird? Genova asked as she stared at Dustless's disappearing figure. It's more than weird. Didn't you notice? We've been led by the nose by him. Since when have I been so obedient? Almighty God, please give me an explanation. Wisteria Irina looked up at the blue sky and asked. Soon after, she realized something and said angrily, to think that we trusted him so much. He secretly touched my hand and even aimed at my chest and legs. Chapter 1307. Wisteria Irina and Genova looked at each other and clenched their teeth in anger. They had thought that he was a well-educated gentleman, but who would have thought that he was a shameless beast in human clothing? Rena, forget it. You did treat us to a meal. Genova waved his hand, indicating that she did not need to mind. Don't forget our mission. There's no need to take such a small matter to heart. Genova was afraid that Rena would start a massacre over such a small matter. After all, this was Chariot King Academy, the demon's territory. Let's go meet the president of the student council. Time flew by, and it was around noon in the supernatural research lab. Dustless was hugging Rias, intending to have an in-depth conversation about the future, when a third wheel suddenly appeared. Bad luck. Today is really an unlucky day. Dustless pursed his lips and grumbled unhappily. They should have all left. Rias frowned slightly. She was also rather frustrated. After witnessing Dustless's power, she had to hold onto this trump card tightly. Sometimes, necessary communication was necessary, and Dustless was not her kin. If he wanted to change jobs, she could not stop him. Please come in. After tidying up her slightly messy clothes, Rias sat in her usual seat, while Dustless lay on the sofa with a gloomy expression. Creak! The door was pushed open, and two graceful figures entered his sight. So, it's them. What a rare guest. Dustless's eyes sparkled as a faint smile appeared on his small face. Song Na and Lady Shinra Chuanji, are you two here for me? The people who interrupted Dustless's business were the president of the student council, Song Na, and her kin, Shinra Chuanji. Looking for you? There's a limit to how thick-skinned you can be. If it wasn't for the situation, I would never want to see your annoying face. You better be killed by some hateful man. When she looked at Rias, Song Na still had a faint smile on her face, but when she heard Dustless's harsh voice, her expression changed faster than flipping a book. Tisk TSK. A woman's heart is the most vicious. Dustless looked at Song Na playfully, and then teased, I thought your sister couldn't wait any longer and sent you to discuss our marriage. Puffed. The hot water that she had just drunk spat out. Rias gaped at Dustless. This guy really did not care about other people's feelings. You. Song Na's face was flushed red, and she clenched her fists. A special magic array appeared in front of her, and she glared at the smiling Wu Chen. If it wasn't for the difference in strength, she would have pierced Wu Chen's heart with thousands of arrows. By the way, no one seems to know about me and her sister. Seeing Song Na gnashing her teeth in anger, as if she wanted to swallow him alive, Dustless realized that no one knew when he forced himself on Seraphil. Song Na, why are you here? Rias glared at Dustless and asked. It's not me who's looking for you. It's the two of them. Song Na shook her head. At the same time, two figures walked out from behind her and Shinra Chunji. Oh, Looks like we meet again." With a slight glance, two familiar figures came into view. "Ladies, I forgot to introduce myself. My apologies." Dustless stood up, and his smile was like a spring breeze. "My name is Dustless. Nice to meet you." The sudden visitors were Genova and Wisteria Irina. "You dare to appear in front of us?" Rena jumped in front of Dustless like a chili pepper, with her hands on her hips. This sudden change stunned both Riaz and Sangna. They looked at each other and saw the strange look in each other's eyes. Obviously, they knew each other. "You're making me feel disgusted." Glancing at Sangna, Riaz already knew the identity of the visitors. They were most likely from the church. "Why wouldn't I dare to appear in front of you? You must understand that this is the Supernatural Research Lab." Dustless did not answer, but asked back. He pointed at Riaz and said confidently, "Plus, I'm Riaz's fiancée." Hearing this, Genova and Rena were stunned. They were sure that Dustless was a human, and Riaz, the sister of the Demon King, would value a mere human. "Minister Riaz, we're here to negotiate today." Genova did not want to argue with Dustless over trivial matters, and her cold gaze fell on Riaz's head. "These two dare to ignore me." Dustless looked at the two girls with interest and rubbed his nose helplessly. He did not expect to be ignored one day. He had always been the one ignoring others. The church's sacred sword seems to have been stolen. Their mission seems to be to find the lost sacred sword. Dustless guessed. "Please speak your mind," Riaz said with a smile. "I still have things to do. You could talk about the rest in detail." With that, Sangna turned and left. Obviously, he had no interest in this sudden incident. How boring. Looking at Sangna and Shinra Chuanji's disappearing back, Dustless smiled. He did not have the time to listen to these boring things, especially boring things that he knew. "Since I have nothing to do, I'll play with the two of you to kill time." Dustless followed Sangna and Shinra Chuanji without hesitation. At the same time, in another direction, the situation was extremely serious. Chapter 1308. In this unfamiliar world, there were barely any signs of human habitation. There were only a few figures. It's really surprising. I'm getting more and more interested in that guy, called Dustless. He must be a very suitable opponent to be able to beat you up like this, and it was a powerful move that killed you instantly. The world is really big. There's actually such a hidden character. I've never heard of a strong person called Dustless. White Dragon Emperor Wally stared at beautiful monkey who had just been bandaged. His eyes were burning with a burning battle intent. The boiling battle intent traveled through the restrictions of space, wanting to see Dustless's true appearance. Isn't this a good opportunity? The demons of the demon world, the fallen angels, and the angels of heaven are going to hold a three-party meeting soon. You're now the subordinate of the fallen angel Asafel. You can use this opportunity to understand him, but I can tell you that he's very strong. If he wanted to kill me back then, he would have ended up more miserable than beautiful monkey. Kitten's sister, Black Song of Taching, showed fear and yearning on her enchanting little face. Is he really that strong? At this moment, a slightly doubtful voice was heard. A girl in a gothic dress suddenly appeared, floating in the air like a hydrogen balloon. Her skin was white and beautiful, and her flawless face was clean and tidy. She did not need to dress up deliberately, and her small body revealed natural beauty. An enemy who can kill beautiful monkey instantly must be very strong. You think so too, right, Orpheus? Wally turned his head and glanced at the girl who appeared and disappeared mysteriously. He had to admit that he might be very strong now, but he was as weak as paper in front of Orpheus, who was at the top of the pyramid. He should be a god from some force. Orpheus' tone remained indifferent. His gaze swept across beautiful monkey, who was covered in injuries and the damaged Jingu Bang. Ripples appeared in peaceful sighs, and a rare, emotional fluctuation appeared. He's called Dustless? The infinite dragon god Orpheus confirmed. His tone was slightly fluctuating, and Wally and the others did not hear it. Of course, I'll never forget that guy for the rest of my life. Beautiful monkey replied with a gloomy face with a hint of awe. If there's a chance, I'll go and meet him. His words immediately attracted the attention of Wally and the others. They did not expect that Orpheus, who was like a taboo in the legends, would personally take action. This was simply shameless. I feel that pulling him in a deal with the Great Red DXD is a good choice. Orpheus did not mince his words. His simple tone did not hide his intentions at all. In reality, she had the power to destroy the world, but inside, she was a pure little girl. She was not scheming at all. What if he wants to join? Touching Haga frowned and asked. When he thought of Dustless's frivolous face, he felt that it was impossible. Dustless gave people the impression that he was not a tactful person who would give in. It's very simple. I will personally destroy him. Orpheus' adorable and delicate face did not change. She remained calm and peaceful. Perhaps this was a display of her confidence. The infinite dragon god, Orpheus, was an extreme existence that even the gods feared and trembled in fear. Its strength could be said to be invincible, and it indeed had the right to be arrogant. He will be my assistance in defeating the Great Red. Towards Dustless, Orpheus's tone was firm. If what the beautiful monkey said was true, it meant that Dustless was comparable to Wally and even had the potential to surpass him. How could she let go of such a good trump card? Keek. Miss Sangna, why are you running so fast? I'm not a tiger. In the corridor, Dustless's teasing voice could be heard. Then light flickered. He was like a wall in front of Shinra Chunji and Sangna, staring at them with a smile. Tiger? Don't insult such a cute creature like a tiger. You are much more ferocious than a tiger. The two of them were speechless. At least tigers only knew how to eat humans. Dustless, this weirdo, not only did he know how to eat humans, but he also knew that offending him would make them suffer a fate worse than death. What do you want? Sangna asked with her hands on her hips. Recalling Dustless's arrogant words, she questioned, please don't make up stories about my sister in the future, especially when it comes to something as important as marriage. Sangna originally wanted to use Seraphil's name to threaten Dustless. However, Seraphil was defeated in the previous battle. Even her chastity was taken away by Dustless. However, no one knew about the matter between Dustless and Seraphil, including Sangna. It all depends on my mood. Facing the serious Sangna, Dustless responded with a smile. His answer was frivolous and perfunctory. Before you question others, you have to talk about other issues first. Dustless's tone suddenly became gloomy. His eyes were filled with coldness. Miss Sangna, you purposely lured those two girls here to cause trouble for me, right? Panic flashed in Sangna's eyes. Her face was red as she argued. Please don't talk nonsense. I didn't know you had a grudge. Besides, it was those two girls who asked to find Ria's. Dustless looked down at Sangna quietly. He did not believe her answer at all. This girl wanted to cause a conflict between him and the church. After all, Dustless was a human, and Ria's was a demon. Even if they were engaged, they could just break the contract if something unexpected happened. By then, the church would only have Dustless as their enemy. This girl is young, but she's quite good at scheming. What a pity! Dustless suddenly moved closer to Sangna's ear. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, revealing a faint smile. He went straight to the point. Sangna, there are some things that you don't need to quibble about. For your sister's sake, I can let bygones be bygones this time. In the future, you better stop before things like today. If something happens to me, your sister will be a widow. Chapter 1309. Sangna stared at Dustless, who was right in front of her, dumbfounded. She couldn't help but sob. What did you do to my sister? Sangna had a bad feeling. Thinking that her most respected sister might have been defiled, her tone and eyes were as cold as a knife. Didn't I say before that you can call me brother-in-law? Dustless maintained his gentle smile, his expression serious. You. Sangna felt like she had eaten a fly, her stomach churning. She vaguely guessed what Dustless had done to Seraphil. It's all my fault. Sangna closed her eyes in despair, her heart filled with regret and self-blame. Because of a trivial matter, her sister was defiled by this beast in human clothing. She regretted it deeply. Don't put on such a pained expression, Dustless advised. Song Na's eyes were empty, as if she had been turned into a walking corpse by a soul. You still have the cheek to make sarcastic remarks? This is all your fault. A cold wind blew. Song Na's kin, Jinlua Chuanji, glared at Dustless. Your sister is very happy to be with me. Dustless smiled at the look that wanted to kill him and said meaningfully, What do you mean? Do you think I'm a child? Song Na's gaze was immediately drawn over. She looked at Dustless in confusion. Her sister was defiled by this beast. How could she be happy? Absolutely impossible. The reason is simple. You should know the demon world without me telling you. It's about the most basic law of the jungle. Survival of the fittest. The weak will be abandoned sooner or later. Although your sister has the strength of a demon king, there is still a gap between her and a surpasser like Sizax. I don't need to tell her this. How can she survive in a world where the strong are everywhere? Only by finding a towering tree can your seedy family live forever. Your sister can't even be happier. She's going to get married sooner or later anyway, and I'm the best candidate for her. Dustless raised his head, his tone arrogant and proud. It was not only the seedy family that was like this. In fact, it was the same for every family. Take Rias, for example. Why did she marry Rias to the Phoenix family in the first place? It was because their family was powerful and Rissel Phoenix was a superior demon, so they could be considered a match. But in the end, because of Dustless's sudden rise, the Gimli family saw a stronger potential, so they did not hesitate to destroy the marriage between Rias and Phoenix and betroth Rias to Dustless. The nature of the law of the jungle was fully revealed. Big sister, are you really happy? Song Na looked at Dustless suspiciously, as if he was lying. You're mistaken about one thing. It's not a matter of whether she's happy or not. It doesn't matter. It was because she had no choice at all. Even if she was unhappy, she had to force a smile. There were too many unpleasant things in life to count. You want to create a perfect fairy tale according to your logical thinking. That was impossible. As a demon king, your sister understands this kind of shallow logic. That's why she accepted her fate and followed me. Finishing a long string of words, Dustless's lips were also somewhat cracked and dry. He moved close to Song Na's ear and said with a smile, All in all, you just need to get it clear. I'm your brother-in-law now. I'm a little tired. Goodbye. If you have any trouble, you can find me at the Supernatural Research Lab. My cute student council. No, my cute sister. Inside the Supernatural Research Lab. The atmosphere was heavy, and the smell of gunpowder was thick. Both sides were arguing until their faces were red. If someone ignited a small flame, both sides would be set ablaze and fight. Creak. The tightly shut door was gently pushed open. A cool breeze blew in, and the hot atmosphere finally eased a little. But when they saw who it was, the smell of gunpowder in the air became even stronger. Yo, you too. Why are you glaring at me so fiercely? Be careful, your eyeballs might fall out. Dustless was like a magnet, attracting the murderous gazes of Genova and Rena. You, a human, are mixing with demons? You're digging your own grave. Genova reprimanded loudly. At the same time, she looked at Rias in confusion. She then circled Dustless and sized him up. Other than his good looks, there was nothing else special about him. This is my private life. You two are meddling too much. Dustless chuckled as he lazily walked to Rias' side and sat down. Our purpose for coming here is to find the missing holy sword. This is a grudge between the church and the fallen angels. I hope the demons won't meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, as the Demon King's sister, we won't let you off. Genova said sternly as he gripped the bandaged sword. How rude of you to suspect others. Are all the people from the church so rude? You have no manners at all. You're no different from robbers. Rias was not someone to be trifled with. While she retorted, she also mocked the church for being rude. The Holy Sword is not only the natural enemy of the fallen angels. It also plays an important role against demons. It's normal for demons to want it. Genova's expression was normal. Her unchanging expression showed that she was right. Oh, it's just a holy sword. To put it bluntly, it's just a high-density lightsaber. In reality, It's just a toy that uses the opposite attributes to suppress demons and imps. You guys are so proud of it. That kind of thing is just a simple, crude weapon. I wouldn't want it even if you gave it to me. Dustless said disdainfully, as if he was talking about a piece of scrap metal, which made Genova and Irina's mouth twitch violently. What do you think the divine weapon that we value so much is? The holy sword is not a tissue to wipe your ass. Chapter 13:10. Both Genova and Wisteria Irina's faces turned the color of pig liver. Anyone could tell from Dustless's mocking tone that he was treating the legendary holy sword as nothing more than a fire-burning stick. It was even worse than a fire-burning stick. At least a fire-burning stick could be used for cooking, but the holy sword was not only useless after being burned, it was also scalding. Dustless's contemptuous tone belittled the holy sword as if it was worthless. Bam! Genova slammed the table angrily and stood up angrily, pointing at Dustless. Kid, watch your tone. Don't think that I'll let you go just because you're a weak human. A weak human? Hearing that, Riaz was amused. If Dustless was considered weak, then the powerful beings that he had killed would have cried themselves to the toilet and washed their faces with tears all day long. You're just playing to the gallery. Irina immediately labeled Dustless as someone who liked to lie. Her round lips parted. If you could take out her divine weapon, Is this the divine weapon you're talking about? Dustless's palm gathered a dazzling light, and then a golden greatsword was compressed according to his will. This is Irina's thin lips formed an O shape. Because she was too close, the light from the lightsaber reflected on her face. The holy and warm light was so comfortable that she could not help but close her eyes and enjoy it. What kind of monster is this guy? Thank goodness I was slow to speak. Irina broke out in cold sweat. She was prepared to say that if Dustless could take out the divine weapon, she would be willing to be his slave or servant. Who knew that Dustless would cut her off first, or else she would really become Dustless' servant? This was indeed a holy sword. This sword's nature energy is close to that of a sacred sword, but there's also an essential difference. Riaz was also in disbelief. As the heir of the Gimli family, she naturally understood the nature of the holy sword. Dustless's lightsaber had the same nature as the holy sword. The scorching holy light was noble and inviolable, and the sharpness of the blade made one's soul tremble. It was even better than the holy sword of the church. The only difference was that it did not have the chilling feeling of encountering a natural enemy. Who the hell are you? Genova and Wisteria Irina asked at the same time. They looked at the light sword in Dustless's hand covetously, instinctively thinking that it was something from the church. Didn't I tell you before? I'm just an ordinary human. Dustless repeated and then added, Of course, if strength can ignore racial boundaries, you can also treat me as Archangel Michael. No. Dustless seemed to realize that he had said something wrong. He said calmly, You should treat me as your Lord God. This is blasphemy. Hearing this, Genova and Wisteria Irina flew into a rage, especially Genova. Her bandaged greatsword was completely torn apart, and the holy sword was already sweeping out with its sharpness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Genova leaped up with the holy sword in hand and slashed at Dustless from a tricky angle. It was impossible to guard against. You want to hurt me with a piece of junk? Naive. Dustless lifted his eyelids and glanced at the sword coming at him from the left. He then closed his eyes peacefully. How arrogant! Seeing that Dustless had closed his eyes to face her, Genova's strength increased, and the blade of her sword was covered in a layer of scorching light. If she had only wanted to hurt Dustless earlier, she would have cut him into pieces now. Sigh, there's going to be another soul under Genova's sword this time. Rena Wisteria closed her eyes, not wanting to see the cruel scene of Dustless being decapitated. Clang! Suddenly, a crisp sound was heard from the place where the holy sword of destruction slashed. Bright sparks flew as if the attack had hit a rock. Genova's arm was numb from the impact. Impossible! How can a human do this? Looking as far as he could, Genova roared loudly. Due to his excessive shock, his voice was piercing. Rena Wisteria also opened her eyes and looked at Dustless in confusion. The next second, she was stunned as well. She was shocked by the scene before her. He blocked the Holy Sword's attack with a single finger. Riaz, who was the first to react, exclaimed in shock. Her eyes were bulging, and her eyes were bloodshot. Her breathing had also become several times faster, and she was panting like a cow. Following her gaze, Dustless had one finger in front of the Holy Sword. No matter how hard Genova tried, he could not move the sword forward. Dustless's finger was made of flesh and blood, but it gave off the illusion that it was a heavenly pillar. Genova, could this guy be a spy? Are the two of you acting in a musical? But this is too fake. How can a finger be harder than a holy sword? You can't even fool a newbie like me. Bad review. Rena Wisteria, who had recovered from the shock, said proudly with a victorious smile. She was happy that she had exposed Dustless and Genova's clumsy acting. Then, she stared at Dustless's head with burning eyes. Wisteria Irina decisively released her holy sword. This time, I will chop off your head and expose your terrible acting skills. The holy sword was extremely sharp, and the cold light reflected on people's faces. Their expressions changed drastically, and they took a few steps back. They instantly felt the shadow of death and the pressure. Whoosh! Rena Wisteria leaped into the air above Dustless's head. She gathered all her strength on her right arm and slashed horizontally. Clang! 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 Rena Wisteria's hand was numb from the impact. She vaguely heard a cracking sound. She opened her eyes with hope. She thought that Dustless's head had been chopped off, but the sudden scene made her stop breathing. Dustless's head was not injured at all. Instead, there was a semicircular crack on her divine artifact. Chapter 13:11. Wisteria Irina looked at the damaged holy sword in a daze. The cracks on the beautiful blade were as dazzling as the sun. She, who had always been cheerful, lowered her head in silence, and the atmosphere fell into a strange silence. Other than Dustless himself, whether it was Riaz, Genova, or Irina, who was deeply affected, they were all immersed in shock and disbelief. What kind of monster was this guy? A prehistoric beast? Or a main god of some unknown mythological system? Or was it like Dustless's monologue? I am your god. The three of them looked at Dustless, or rather, at his head, trying to find a gap to prove that the holy sword was not a useless stick. But to their dismay, Dustless's eyes were smiling, and his face was as calm as a breeze. Even an idiot could not tell that he was fine. What else do you two have to say? Dustless still held onto Genova's holy sword as he asked with a calm expression. Are you really God? Oh no, you are really our Lord. Wisteria Irina asked excitedly after hesitating for a long time. Her eyes were filled with golden starlight. The golden luster that Dustless showed before was very warm and peaceful, and also had extremely terrifying destructive power. While giving the enemy lethal pressure, it could also give all things the light of hope, which was in line with the nature of the Lord's ability. The only thing missing was the angelic halo like Archangel Michael. Of course, Dustless could also use the nature of yin-yang escape to create a perfect one. Idiot, don't be fooled by him. This guy has admitted that he is not the Lord. Genova's mouth twitched as she looked at Rena, who was about to pounce on Dustless and cry. She almost fainted in frustration. Tell her you are not the Lord. Genova glared at Dustless with fire in her eyes. The two of them were here for the Holy Sword mission. They were not here to find a random Lord to jump ship. Why not? Dustless asked back nonchalantly. Your God is dead anyway. Only by believing in a stronger main soul, like me, can you be forgiven. So believe in me, Genova. At the same time, Dustless's back glowed with a bright holy light. He had decisively activated the glint fruit's ability to cleanse his body. After a few hundred years of familiarity, Dustless had developed the glint fruit to an unimaginably heaven-defying degree. Furthermore, he had awakened the glint fruit's ability early on and was able to pass off the fake as the real thing. This guy is a fraud. Riaz did not know whether to laugh or cry. She subconsciously looked at Genova and Wisteria Rena. The two of them had blank faces as they worshipped Dustless sincerely. Dustless's body glowed with a golden light. His expression was gentle, and his eyes were as calm as the autumn water. Genova and Rena, who were bathed in the golden light, were about to melt. Their hearts were cleansed like never before. They clasped their hands together and had a fanatical smile on their faces. They looked like devout believers from medieval Europe. It was not just Wisteria, Rena, and Genova. Even Riaz, who had nothing to do with this, was stunned. She could not help but want to worship Dustless. That unique temperament was filled with an indescribable magic. The creatures of this world are indeed weak. They have been bewitched by me. Even if the gods are everywhere, they are still far from being comparable to me. When they meet a superdimensional character like me, they have probably lost themselves. Dustless looked gentle and compassionate on the surface, but in his heart, he was staring at Wisteria, Rena, and Genova. Due to his height, he could see their snowy peaks clearly. Dustless let out a wretched laugh in his heart. His eyes shone with a wolfish light. The method he used was very simple. He only used the glint fruit's ability and the Haushika Haki's special effect. Therefore, his temperament was very contradictory. While he healed the world, he also contained a domineering aura that could destroy all living things and a will that was above the 9 heavens. And he also shamelessly used a small illusion to confuse the two of them. Clang! An ear-piercing roar broke the silence, and everyone woke up from their dreamlike world. Genova and Wisteria Rena woke up from their dreams and opened their eyes to look at Dustless. They suddenly realized that they were half a body shorter. Let go if you're done hugging me. After all, Riaz is still here. I have to pay attention to my imagination. Dustless smiled gently. It sounded like a fantasy story. The two were stunned. They looked at each other in disbelief. They felt that their knees were cold and instinctively looked at the ground. Bastard, sorcery, it must be sorcery. You evil heretic. Genova was furious. Her face was flushed red, and the sound of teeth clenching came from her mouth. She found herself and Rena kneeling on the ground. Both of their hands were hugging Dustless's thigh, afraid that this master would run away. I'll let you go this time. I'll deal with you evil heretic after I take back the holy sword. Those who dare to impersonate our master will be judged by justice. After glaring fiercely at Dustless, Genova hurriedly grabbed Wisteria Irena's arm and fled the scene. She looked extremely flustered and terrified, and her entire body felt uneasy. Genova's mind was filled with Dustless's back, and the illusion that she would rather die than leave him. She knew that this was an imposter savior, and yet she still had the thought of changing her mind. Is it really okay for you to trick other girls like this? It might affect the relationship between the demons and the church. Riaz smiled bitterly. In fact, it was not just Genova and Rena. Even she was affected by his unique temperament and had the absurd idea of turning back. You don't think it's appropriate? What's wrong with it? Dustless sat lazily on the sofa with his hands behind his head. He said seriously, "Believe it or not, their master has indeed stepped into the underworld and is dead. What's wrong with using me as a spiritual anchor? This is salvation." Chapter 13:12. In fact, it was not just the gods. Even the demon lords had all fallen, but this shocking news was too difficult for Riaz, Genova, and Rena to digest. It was almost impossible. Right? His eyes flashed as Dustless suddenly remembered the culprit who stole the holy sword. He turned into a golden rainbow and disappeared from the supernatural research department. Damn it! Damn it! That bastard who pretended to be the Lord. Genova cursed Dustless in her heart. So what if he pretended to be the Lord? But why did he have to pretend so perfectly? Ah! Dustless's disappointed sigh came from the front. Rena and Genova were both stunned. Dustless was already sitting on the bench with a disappointed look. He said, I finally got the information about the missing holy sword, but you two are still cursing me behind my back. Looks like I don't need it. I still have things to do. Goodbye. With that, Dustless's body glowed with endless light and gradually lost its texture. It looked like he was about to turn into light and disappear. Hey, wait. Genova reluctantly opened her mouth to stop them. Although she was very happy for Dustless to disappear, she had to admit that it was impossible for them to find news of the Holy Sword in such a large town without at least 10 days to half a month, or even longer. Where did the information about the Holy Sword come from? I will thank you in the future. Genova bowed in front of Dustless. Genova still could not muster up the courage to look at Dustless. It left a shadow in her heart that she could not get rid of. Even if she had to face the elites of the fallen angels, she did not want to face Dustless. Sit down. Patting the empty seat beside him, Dustless smiled and said, the mastermind behind all of this is actually a cadre of the fallen angels, Korkabor, and a few of his underlings. I heard that a priest of the church was killed, and the one who did it was Korkabor's underling, the lost priest, freed Saren. Ever since the last Great War, Korkabor has been bored with the current world, so he wants to start a war. After failing to snatch the sacred sword from your Archangel Michael, he seems to be up to something new this time. He plans to start a war with Cult King Academy as the center, pulling in all 3 factions and starting a fierce war. You understand it very well. Rena and Genova looked at each other and felt that Dustless did not seem to be lying. The 2 women sat on either side of Dustless. Speaking of which, are you really a human? Wisteria Rena looked at Dustless expectantly. It would have been better if she had not asked. Now that she had spoken, she immediately digressed. If you are willing to join the church, Lord Michael will definitely put you in an important position. Sorry, I'm not interested. Hearing this, Dustless shook his head decisively. Joining one of the factions meant that he might be used to participate in the war. He did not care much about things like the world, but after obtaining it, sometimes he would feel even more bored. That's a pity. Genova's eyes dimmed. In fact, she also felt that Dustless joining the church was a stock with unlimited potential. She believed that he would definitely shine in the future. I appreciate your kindness. Dustless smiled and nodded. His eyes moved slyly as he looked at the full breasts. Dustless thought that his charm was not bad, but it was impossible to make someone abandon their faith and fall for him on their first meeting. He could only ask for the next best thing. Why don't you two give it to a friend? There was still a long time, so he could slowly conquer it in the future. It would not be too late to talk about other things after getting on this line. My name is Genova. Please take care of me in the future. My name is Wisteria Rena. Please take care of me in the future. Wisteria Rena and Genova introduced each other in a friendly manner. Their tones sounded as if they had let go of their previous grudges. In the end, the 2 of them still owed Dustless. After treating them to a meal and telling them the whereabouts of the sacred sword, Genova and Wisteria Rena's impression of Dustless had also changed. After chatting for a few more minutes, Dustless told them all the details of Freed's hiding place. Only then did Genova and Wisteria Rena thank him and leave. Phew, that's it. That's too insincere. Dustless complained as he turned his head to look at the backs of the 2 girls leaving Chariot King Academy. Yeah, it's really too simple. They should at least say a kiss before leaving, right, Dustless? Hearing this, Dustless nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice, expressing his agreement. That makes sense. After all, this is the whereabouts of the sacred sword. They really did want to kiss me. Junai, eavesdropping is not your style. The gentle voice that had suddenly spoken was none other than the smiling Junai. Era, I didn't hear you speak, but I could feel your resentment from afar. Looking at your resentful face, I could guess what you were thinking. Does this count as telepathy, Dustless? Junai was indeed a charming fairy. Every word and action of hers revealed a fatal charm. Looking at Junai, who was leisurely walking over, Even though Dustless's mind was as steady as a rock, he could not help but feel a surge of emotions. Right, where's Isha and Kitten? Noticing that the two of them were missing, Dustless frowned and asked. As for Issei Hugh, he was ignored. Who asked him to be a man? The people of the church were about to start a war with the fallen angels. At this critical moment, mistakes were inevitable. Dustless had promised Isha that he would take care of her for the rest of her life. It's very rude to talk about other women in front of me. As she spoke, Junai deliberately moved her slender waist closer to Dustless. Her seductive eyes were like silk. Chapter 13:13. When Junai took the initiative to offer himself, Wu Chun couldn't help but be stunned. Although she was usually very active and often showed a flirtatious side, she also stopped at a certain point, not to mention this kind of occasion in broad daylight. You dare to play with me? TSK, you sure have guts. Adhering to the principle of not taking advantage of others, Dustless switched from defense to offense after a brief moment of hesitation. He grabbed Junai with his strong arms and hugged her tightly. Because the two of them were too close, Wu Chun could even feel Junai's natural body fragrance, which could provoke people to commit a crime. Especially now that she was squeezed in his arms, her proud cleavage was directly squashed. Let go. This is Coal King Academy, not home. Junai resisted with a red face, her face full of panic. She didn't expect Dustless to suddenly attack her, especially when there were many other students around. Not home? In other words, as long as we're home, we can have some alone time? Dustless smiled evilly as he stared at Junai's bulging clothes. His hands reached into Junai's clothes on purpose. Slap! Junai slapped Dustless's hands away and said with a straight face, "You did it on purpose." She was just bored and wanted to tease Dustless, but she didn't expect him to take the act seriously and take advantage of her even more. On purpose? Maybe, but it would be too much of a killjoy if I just sat there like a block of wood when a beauty threw herself at me. Dustless played with Junai's hands. She didn't object, so it wasn't hard to imagine their relationship. So warm. No wonder Ria's fell for you in just a few days. Her palms were warm, as if she was soaking in warm spring water. It was unusually calm and relaxed. Dustless's arms were like heaven. Even I fell for it. Junai laughed bitterly at herself. She finally understood what it meant to be together for a long time. Even if there was no such thing as feelings, as time passed, two people would fall deeply into each other's hearts. Moreover, Dustless and Junai were living together every day. Speaking of which, why are those people from the church looking for you? Suppressing the strange emotions in his heart, Junai changed the topic and tried to maintain a natural smile. What else could it be? They're always bothering themselves with some ordinary scrap metal. Those people from the church are really bored. Dustless leaned his head on the bench and said in a bored and uninterested manner, "Scrap metal?" Junai frowned and could not help but ask, "What do you think the church is? They're not a junkyard." "I think so. In any case, the holy sword is no different from scrap metal in my eyes." Dustless shrugged casually. "Are you saying that the church's holy sword is a piece of scrap metal?" Junai glared at Dustless in annoyance. He couldn't help but cry out for those who had been killed by the holy sword. His eyes darted around, afraid that Archangel Michael would suddenly jump out and strangle Dustless. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed in the Supernatural Research Department. At this moment, everyone from the Supernatural Research Department was present, except for one person, Huda Issei. "I didn't see Yijo-san yesterday, and he didn't come to school today. It seems like he didn't ask for leave from the teacher, and I went to his house to look for him, but there was no one there." Frowning, Shiba Yudo said worriedly. Thinking of Huda Issei, everyone felt a headache. This guy's brain was empty, and it seemed like he only had things like Appa. His training and strength were even worse. TSK. It seems like it's because of me that Huda Issei ended up in this state. Otherwise, he would be the one surrounded by the girls right now. Dustless thought to himself and couldn't help but sympathized with Xin. Huta Issei was still a general without an army, and all the girls that he was interested in were all in Dustless's arms. That was why Huta Issei was still single. Mr. Issei should be fine, right? The kind-hearted Aisha said worriedly. Even though she had turned into a demon, she still maintained a kind heart. No, Senpai is the host of the Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet. He won't be that useless. Although his strength is still very weak, I think he should be able to protect himself. Kitten was still somewhat confident in Huta Issei. Of course, he'll be fine. Dustless also nodded in agreement, and then ridiculed in his heart. If he sees Appa, Brother Issei will unleash a strength that will make even the gods retreat. The reputation of the Breast Dragon Emperor was not for nothing. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there was a sudden burst of messy knocking on the door. Before Riaz could open her mouth to let someone in, the person directly broke the door open and barged in. Sorry for the sudden interruption. The person who came in was Tsang Na's servant, Shinra Chuanji. At this moment, her hair was covered in sweat, and she was panting heavily. It seemed like she had run all the way here. The situation is urgent, so I'll make it short. Riaz's servant, Huta Issei, has been captured. Shinra Chuanji's words were shocking, and, at the same time, she took out a photo. On the photo was the pitiful Huta Issei who was beaten up, and the culprit, the lost priest, freed Saren. Aye, this kid is really unlucky to be caught by that perverted priest. I'm afraid he's dead by now. Dustless touched his chin and gloated. No, not yet. Shinra Chuanji organized her tone and said seriously, just now, we met the senior officer of the fallen angel, Korkabor, and he personally came to issue a challenge. This time, Shinra Chuanji took out another photo. The two girls who were besieged were Genova and Wisteria Rena. Chapter 13-14. The two girls wielding sacred swords were in a sorry state, sweating profusely as they stood back to back, staring at the approaching enemy. Was this sent by Kopbor? Dustless glanced at Shinra Chuanji and asked. The picture was quite good, probably taken at close range. Kopbor probably ordered his men to take it to threaten Riaz. The atmosphere was tense, and no one said a word. In the middle of the picture was a close-up of Kopbor himself, flapping his dense black wings, his expression full of arrogance. As a cadre of the fallen angels, Kopbor did have the right to look down on others. This idiot called Kopbor looks like an idiot. Is he tired of living? Or does he think that he is invincible and can look down on everything? Dustless spoke first to break the silence. I've decided to save them. Riaz followed suit. The decision was sudden, but her tone was firm. This time, it was not just about saving Genova and Wisteria Rena, as well as her kin, Hato Issei. Everyone get ready. They definitely did not expect to rescue the hostages after sending the picture. Riaz spoke quickly. Her sudden change of heart seemed to be without a plan, but in reality, she had ulterior motives. Don't you need to prepare? The enemy is a high-ranking cadre of the fallen angels, someone who once fought against the gods. Shinra Chuanji's expression changed, and her words were full of dissuasion. This picture was sent by Kopbor himself. It must be a trap. Don't fall for it. They must have planned this beforehand and are waiting for us to walk right into their trap. Of course, I know it's a trap. Before Riaz could speak, Dustless spoke first. If we're afraid of the enemy just because it's a trap, then we're no different from salted fish. Dustless's words made everyone unable to restrain their laughter. The originally tense atmosphere eased up quite a bit. You're crazy. Kopbor is a cadre of the fallen angels, not a normal pawn. Shinra Chuanji did not give up and tried her best to dissuade Riaz. She said softly, the president hopes that everyone can wait for about 2 hours, and then we can. I appreciate Song's kindness, but I don't need it. This is a mission from the Supernatural Research Lab. She actually wanted to use this opportunity to test the strength of herself and the favored. After all, there would not be any major problems. After all, with the existence of the Bug Dustless, all problems would be solved. Under the dark night sky, the whole world was bitterly cold. In a remote outskirts, there were very few people here. All that could be seen were plains. There was only an inconspicuous and dilapidated church. The walls were covered with thick moss, and it had been abandoned for a long time. Swish, swish. After a series of sharp whistling sounds, Dustless and the others appeared. Alili. He actually chose such a barren place as our burial ground. That fellow Corcobor is truly heartless. Riaz and the others had wanted to sneak in and figure out the situation, but Dustless' dissatisfaction spread throughout the night, and they were all exposed to the enemy. Ahem, I didn't do it on purpose. I just felt it. Dustless coughed awkwardly when he saw everyone looking at him with disdain. Thud, thud, thud. At the same time, leisurely footsteps came from inside the church, along with an arrogant tone. Keek keek. Shitty Demon's teammates have finally come to save the Shitty Demon. Huh? Good, this time let me chop you all into pieces and feed you to the dogs. Hearing this crazy tone, Dustless did not even need to look to know who it was. Ah! All the trash demons are mobilized this time. 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6 came at once. This is enough for me to show off my skills. Freed carried his oddly shaped golden great sword and shouted. He did not care about Riaz and the others at all, and had already sentenced them to death. There are so many arrogant bugs like him. Doesn't he know that he's the reason why I hate him for smelling the air around him? Dustless waved his hand in annoyance. He realized that the air he breathed into his nostrils had a foul stench. You damned handsome gigolo, what did you say? Hearing that, Freed's gaze fell on Dustless. He was not an idiot. Naturally, he knew what Dustless meant. How dare he say that my mouth stinks? How dare he? Under everyone's gaze, Freed carried his gleaming holy sword and turned around, walking towards Dustless. His face was cold as ice. Shitty Demon, there seems to be a difference between you and them. Pointing at Riaz and the others, Freed frowned slightly. His sloppy expression was somewhat restrained. He felt that there was a world of difference between Dustless and Riaz and the others. How shocking. You can still see the difference between Riaz and me. TSK, TSK. I didn't think that there would be a piece of trash like you in this backwater latrine. Dustless said with a smile, giving a thumbs up with a flattering expression. Uft. Riaz, Junai, Touching Kitten, Aisha, and the others could not help but laugh. Dustless's analogy was even worse than pointing at Freed's nose and scolding him. You're asking for it. I'll cut you into pieces right now. Seeing this, Freed flew into a rage. Holding the sacred sword he had stolen, he charged at Dustless. This young gigolo's strength was only half-baked, but his mouth was sharp and crafty. Chapter 13-15. Freed's crazy face was distorted. His eyes were filled with tyrannical light. The way he looked at Dustless was as if he had met the enemy who killed his father after so many years. Stupid thing. Seeing this, Dustless's pupils shrank, and a cold mist appeared around his body. Go to hell, you hateful gigolo. When he was only a few meters away from Dustless, Freed stomped hard on the ground with both feet. His body was like a spring as he jumped dozens of meters high. Trying to kill me with the force of falling? There's a disdainful sneer on the corner of his mouth. If he was killed in a daze, the Kage who was killed by him in the past, as well as the Marine Admiral, including the Captain of Death, will harass him in his dreams. What a bright light! Freed exclaimed. A small light suddenly condensed on his thumb, and it was the size of a thumb. You want to use this fluorescent light to resist me? Is today April Fool's Day? Freed held the holy sword with both hands and gathered 90% of his strength, intending to cut Dustless in half. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was also at this critical moment that a black shadow suddenly appeared and disrupted Freed's plans. Clang! Sparks flew in the void, and Freed's invincible attack was stopped. Kibayudo blocked the fatal attack for Dustless. You really like to meddle in other people's business. Dustless glanced at the blond young man in front of him, and his tone was not frivolous, nor did he show any gratitude. That's right, damn handsome blonde. You really like to meddle in other people's business. Freed gritted his teeth. Because of Kibayudo's interference, Dustless's annoying face was still alive in the world, disgusting him. Leave Fried to me. He and I are old rivals. You guys go and save Ishikoin. Kiba Yudo held his sword with both hands, completely different from his usual gentleness, revealing a cold, murderous intent. Be careful, Yudo. Seeing how insistent he was, Riaz did not refuse Kiba Yudo's kindness and sneaked around Fried into the ruined church. Are you trying to ignore my existence? Fried glared angrily at Riaz, who was leaving in a hurry. Just as he was about to charge at her, an agile figure blocked his path. Clang! Yudo brandished the long sword in his hand. His swordsmanship was quite exquisite, and he forced Fried to retreat from tricky angles. You guys have fun. I'll be leaving first. Dustless waved his hand at Kiba Yudo as he hummed a tune and walked into the depths of the church like he was taking an afternoon stroll. Bastard, who allowed you to leave? Stop right there. Seeing Dustless's frivolous expression, Fried was furious. Seeing that Dustless had exposed his back to him, he knew that this was a rare opportunity to launch a sneak attack. However, what happened next made Fried vomit blood. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The cold glint of a sword swept toward Fried. His heart was bleeding. Helpless, he could only retreat. The distance between him and Dustless increased until they completely disappeared. Bastard demon, that gigolo is a very important person in your organization. Otherwise, you wouldn't be protecting him so desperately. Fried narrowed his eyes and said. He could acutely sense that Dustless's identity was not ordinary. He is indeed extraordinary, but he is our department head's fiancé. Yudo did not try to hide anything. Dustless's identity was no secret. However, there is one thing that you are mistaken about. I did everything I could to prevent you from getting close to him, not to protect Dustless. Yudo took a deep look at Fried, whose expression was twisted with madness, and said bluntly, You misunderstood. I prevented you from getting close to Dustless because I know that you are not from the same dimension as him. I reckon that you will be instantly killed. This is not the ending I want to see. I still have a lot of questions to ask you, so naturally, I can't let you die so easily. Rather than protecting Dustless, it's better to say that I am protecting you. Inside the spacious and dilapidated church, the air was filled with the stench of rotting corpses, which was nauseating. There doesn't seem to be any powerful characters. His observation haki spread quietly like a wave, and the entire dilapidated church was under the eyes of Dustless. Carefully perceiving the surrounding life forms, Dustless was disappointed to find that most of them were at the level of supporting characters. Ishichin-san, are you okay? On the stone pillar supporting the entire church, Yudo Issei was covered in blood and tightly bound by iron chains. His body was full of wounds, and it was estimated that he had been tortured before. There is someone else. Under the perception of observation haki, Dustless found that there was a person tied on the other side of the stone pillar. When he approached, it was a familiar figure. Miss Rina E. Dustless walked to Rina Yi's side. Looking at her sleeping face, he couldn't help but frown. She's the only one who's been captured. Genova probably escaped unharmed. Speaking of which, where did Korkabor go? After loosening the bindings on Rina E., she was lying in Dustless's arms. She looked like a kitten, sleeping soundly and comfortably. Are you really a hostage? Wu Chan smiled bitterly as he looked at Wisteria Irina, who was in his arms. Compared to Brother Chung, who was severely tortured, she was completely fine. Ta-ta-ta. At the same time, there was a burst of footsteps in the corridor leading to the second floor, and a vague outline slowly walked downstairs. He gave people the impression that he was a deadly, poisonous snake, and his entire body was filled with venom. Chapter 13:16. Dustless noticed the figure that suddenly appeared as well, but he did not pay much attention to it after noticing that he was not much different from a normal human being. He ignored him as a minor character. Now it seemed that this guy was someone. Cough, cough, cough. Yudo Issei, who was rescued, coughed violently as he opened his blank eyes. You're finally here to save me. After a long while, Hugh to Issei finally gave a disappointing reply. Riaz and the rest sighed as their hope for Hugh to Issei was extinguished. He had the world's top divine vanquisher tool, the Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet, but the host was terrible. Hugh to Issei's decadence had something to do with Dustless. The Supernatural Research Department had almost become Dustless's harem. Not only would Hugh to Issei not improve here, but he would also be beaten black and blue. Speaking of which, are you Balpa Galileo? Even in the pitch-black night sky, Wu Chan could still clearly see the old man coming down. On the surface, he looked benevolent and harmless, but in fact, he was a ruthless executioner. Even if it was a child of a few years old, he could also kill him. At the same time, he was also the mastermind of Project Holy Sword, Balpa Galileo. Tell me, where did Corcobor go? I have no interest in humans like you. Dustless asked lazily as his tone was filled with contempt and mockery. Balpa Galileo was fine with research, but when it came to combat, he was not even as good as Freed, so he naturally could not pique Dustless's interest. Are you looking down on me? Barpa was enraged, and at the same time, he shouted, Freed, I'm here, boss. Outside the church, there were incessant sounds of flattery. Then, a black shadow rushed over and stood beside Barpa like a guardian deity. Looks like Yudu failed in the end. In the end, it still depends on me. Dustless mumbled to himself out of boredom. He thought that he could relax with a fallen angel officer around, but he did not even know where that guy went. Thud, thud, thud. At the same time, a large number of fallen angels appeared around the church. Riaz, Dustless, and the rest were surrounded without them noticing. Damn it, just as I guessed, they had set up an ambush. These fallen angels should be Corcobor's trusted followers. Riaz clenched her fists as she said with a serious look in her eyes. These fallen angels were probably loyal followers of Corcobor in the past. Allah, Allah, Allah. It seems like we're in trouble, Junai also said solemnly. Touching the kitten and Isha also leaned against each other with their backs, facing each other, looking very nervous. Ha ha! You knew it was a trap, yet you still dared to walk right into it. What a bunch of hopeless idiots. Barpa held his stomach and laughed maniacally, looking very arrogant. I'll leave those small fries to you. Ignoring the surrounding fallen angels, Dustless quietly looked at Balupa Galileo and Freed. Be careful. Riaz, Junai, Takei the kitten, and Aisha gathered together. Not only did they have to defend against the incoming enemies, but they also had to do their best to protect Issei, who had fainted. Damn pretty boy, I'm not going to trouble you, but you still dare to come and die. Freed laughed savagely. He was indeed powerful, as he had already injured Kiba Yudu. Especially, Freed looked at Wisteria Arena in Dustless's arms and said sinisterly, You dare to fight me with a woman in your arms? I don't know if you're brave, or you don't know how to spell the word death. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, a fierce battle broke out around them. Riaz and Junai were fighting fiercely against the incoming fallen angels. While Kitten was in charge of protecting Issei and defeating the incoming enemies, Aisha was in charge of healing him. Their teamwork could be considered tacit. Thud, thud, thud. Dustless looked at Freed quietly. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with this idiot. He carried Wisteria Arena and calmly walked toward him and Balpa Galileo. His clean face had no extra expression, and his eyes were as calm as water. This kind of ant could be killed with a raise of his hand. He had no right to talk to him. Bang! After closing the distance between Freed and Balpa Galileo, Dustless suddenly stopped. He hooked his finger and sneered contemptuously. Bring it on, small fries. Hearing this, Freed's anger exploded. Kiba Yudo's words had already left a deep psychological impact on him. Now that Dustless dared to provoke him in such an arrogant manner, he could no longer tolerate it. Moreover, Freed did not know what tolerance meant. Go to hell, annoying pretty boy. Freed had the same evil expression every time he appeared. When he attacked the enemy, he always liked to show an extremely twisted and sick face. He could do it to others, but he was still far from being able to intimidate Dustless. He was just asking for humiliation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sharp radiance of the holy sword was about to swallow Dustless and Wisteria Arena, but the two of them were motionless like stones, treating everything as air. Seeing that Dustless did not dodge, Freed's hideous smile became even more sinister. His sick smile was filled with evil, as if he could already see Dustless's tragic death. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the holy sword was about to cut through Dustless's head, a transparent, repulsive force field expanded. Shinra Tensei. Sensing the special power coming from his body, Freed's expression changed slightly. This was an attack without any substance, and it sent him flying effortlessly. Bang! Freed landed heavily on the bed. The dull sound was as if his bones were broken, and there was obvious blood flowing out of his head. KO in one move. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.